including concepts like freedom of religion and separation of church and state. The document was a response to the rapidly changing political and social landscape of Europe. The Pope was trying to reassert the Church's authority in an increasingly secular world. Its release caused a lot of debate and criticism, even among Catholics, as many felt it was an outdated and regressive stance. The syllabus covered a lot of ground, from rationalism and socialism to biblical interpretation and civil society. While the idea was to strengthen the Church's position, it ended up causing more tension between the Vatican and modernizing countries. People still argue about what the document meant. Some say it was a stand against moral relativism, while others think it was a mistake that stopped the Church from engaging with the modern world. Even though it caused controversy, the Syllabus of Errors is still an important historical text. It shows how the Catholic Church struggled with modernity in the 19th century. The Meister Eckhart, a 13th century German theologian and mystic, wrote the Meister Eckhart, a collection of sermons and treatises that had a big impact on Christian mysticism. Eckhart was born around 1260 in Thuringia and joined the Dominican order, becoming a well-known preacher and teacher. His writings, which were written in both Latin and Middle High German, explored the nature of God, the soul, and the union between the divine and human. Eckhart's teachings focused on the idea of detachment and the concept of a spark of the soul that directly connects to God. His work was a hit with the general public and religious people alike, but it also got the attention of church officials. In 1326, Eckhart was accused of heresy, mainly because of his statements that sounded pantheistic and his unusual interpretations of Scripture. He gave himself a defense before Pope John XXII, but some of his ideas were condemned in 1329 after he died. Despite all the controversy, Eckhart's influence lived on, inspiring later mystics and philosophers. His work was rediscovered in the 20th century, with scholars realizing it had a big impact on Western spirituality and philosophy. Today, the Meister Eckhart is still a key text in the field of mystical literature, encouraging readers to delve into the depths of spiritual experience and the nature of divinity. The Cloud of Unknowing. The Cloud of Unknowing, an anonymous spiritual guide written in Middle English during the late 14th century, is a key text in Christian mysticism. It was written by someone we don't know, probably a Catholic priest. It came from England at a time when religion was changing and society was changing too. The text is about a type of prayer that helps you connect with God by getting past the cloud of unknowing that separates us from Him. The main idea is that we should give up trying to understand things intellectually and instead connect directly with the divine through love. The author says that to achieve union with God, we should forget all created things. This idea was both admired and suspected. The book's teachings, influenced by Pseudo-Dionysius and other mystical traditions, were pretty radical for the time. It suggested using a single word prayer to dismiss distracting thoughts, which is similar to some Eastern meditation practices. Even though it had a huge impact on Christian spirituality, the Cloud of Unknowing was criticized by church leaders because it might be seen as heretical. The text's focus on personal experience over doctrinal knowledge led to concerns about its alignment with traditional beliefs. Despite this, it survived and continued to influence mystics, theologians, and spiritual seekers across centuries, playing a big part in the development of contemplative prayer and mystical theology in the Western Christian tradition. The Freethinker's Bible. John G. Jackson's The Freethinker's Bible, published in the mid-20th century, offers a thought-provoking critique of organized religion. Jackson, an African-American historian and freethinker, put this together to challenge traditional religious beliefs and promote skepticism. The book is not actually a religious text, but rather a collection of arguments and historical analyses that question the foundations of faith. Jackson looked at lots of different sources, including ancient mythology, comparative religion, and scientific discoveries, to build his case against religious dogma.
Violence will avail you not, and merely grant me passing sport.
I've been waiting for this. So, the beast reveals its true nature at last.
Surely no creature is beyond death. It can be felt. Else the flames of Fortis to it.
Let my magics grasp elementals.
Quickly, Arisen. You must regain your footing.
A poor showing.
Program. They are reopening the school.
In an ancient Greek book called The Testament of Solomon, there is a story about how Solomon overcame demons and made them serve him. The story is told from Solomon's perspective. When I was building the temple in Jerusalem, I noticed a young man, the son of the foreman of the builders. He was a very skilled worker, so I increased his wages and his food allowance above the others. However, despite this, I saw him becoming thin, weak, and pale. One day I called him and asked if something was wrong. At first he wouldn't tell me, but when I pressed him, he said, "I don't know if you'll believe me, O king, but something strange has been happening to me. Every night when I go to bed, something comes and sucks my right thumb and steals my food. I feel it is taking away all my strength, and I believe it is an evil spirit." When I heard this, I returned to my palace, thought earnestly, and consulted the writings of the ancients. I prayed for a way to set the young man free from the power of the demon. After some days, an angel came to me, bringing a ring with a stone in it. On the stone was the figure called the Pentalpha, and within it was the name that cannot be spoken. The angel told me what to do with the ring. The next morning, I sent for the young man and gave him the ring, saying, "Take this, and tonight, when the creature comes, cast the ring into its bosom and say, 'In the strength of the name, King Solomon calls you.' Then rise and come running to me, and do not be afraid of whatever the demon may say to you."
If you're a web designer, here are 4 Wix Studio features you gotta know.
Thelema is an occult religious movement based on the teachings of English philosopher Aleister Crowley, whose practitioners view as a type of prophet. The name Thelema comes from the ancient Greek word for will, intention, desire, or purpose. Thelema is a system that openly borrows from many distinct religions, mythologies, and cultures. Thelemites view their religion as syncretic, as Aleister Crowley borrowed from many Abrahamic, Dharmic, and pagan religions in particular. According to this faith, universal truths can be found from stories and belief systems from all around the world. As such, Thelemites study both their own texts as well as the holy books of other religions. However, Thelemites have their own holy book known as Liber Alvel Legis, or the Book of the Law, which they believe was dictated to Aleister Crowley by a divine entity called Aiwass. According to Crowley, the text contains the words of Nuit, Hadit, and Rahor Kuit, entities which would make up the Thelemic divine triad. Crowley later wrote commentary for every line in the Book of the Law, compiled and edited into a book called The Law is for All. This is generally considered a good beginner book for initiates into Thelema. Those initiated into Ordo Templi Orientis, which is the predominant Thelemic organization, are required to affirm their promise to never alter the Book of the Law. Other sacred books of Thelema were penned by Crowley later while further defining his belief system. However, only so-called Class A works, such as the Book of the Law, are universally accepted by all Thelemites. According to the faith, existence originates from 2 principles. The first is the space-time continuum, which is considered infinite and all-pervading. The second is the individually expressed principle of life and wisdom. Through the interplay between these 2 principles, the principle of consciousness that governs reality is manifested.
These divine principles are sometimes personified as a trinity consisting of ancient Egyptian deities as defined by Aleister Crowley. There is Nuit, the Thelema goddess of infinite space and unlimited possibility of the universe. She is depicted as a nude woman who covers the entire earth. Called the Great Mother, she is considered the origin of all things. There is Hadit, the winged serpent of light. He is the husband of Nuit. He symbolizes movement and time and is often considered the most important of the three gods, as he is said to reside in the hearts of all humans and in the stars. He is associated with individuality and the infinite defining itself as finite. And there is Ra-Hoor-Khuit, warrior god and the lord of the cosmos. In Thelema, he is a manifestation of the Egyptian god Horus. He is associated with the sun as well as the power that emanates from Thelemic magic. Beyond these gods are Hor-Par-Krat, who is associated with inner power, Babylon, who is associated with pleasure, and Therion, who is associated with the beast found within all humans. In Thelema, history is broken into periods called aeons, which are periods with distinct formulas of redemption, spiritual advancement, and cultural consciousness. The Neolithic period is called the Aeon of Isis, and is considered a period of maternity and devotion to Mother Earth, thus the representation by the feminine figure Isis. The next period is called the Aeon of Osiris, which was a period of self-sacrifice and submission to the divine. This encompasses the age of Christianity, which Crowley associated with Osiris due to the shared concept of a dying and resurrecting divine figure. According to Thelemic theology, the modern era is the Aeon of Horus, where the spiritual focuses are consciousness, love, and self-realization. It is from the spirit of the Aeon of Horus that the famous Thelemic phrase, "do what thou wilt," is derived. This doctrine, known as the Law of Thelema, is not seen by Thelemites as divine permission to indulge every whim, but rather to discover and fulfill one's purpose in life and to leave others to follow their own paths. If someone interferes in another's discovery and accomplishment of what is referred to as their true will, it is believed that some sort of karmic punishment will be enacted upon them.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one productivity software where you can manage everything and any.
Yeah, so Harlem is he if he lives in Harlem, he knows the son, man. Even if you don't know them personally or hang out with them, you know. I mean, because here's the thing. If he knows the son, if he knows some Sunmen, things can get very dicey for him. Because Sunmen usually look at a guy like him as you know, food or something like that. Shout out to
Did he go to school for this shit? Because I grew up in New Orleans, and I feel like I've got the same education level with respect to this.
Yeah, like the way they talk in New Orleans, you could write a book on that. You could break that down. They got their own language, baby, and all that stuff. Yeah, the regionalities of it too, man. It's so regional, man. Like,
right,
DC and Baltimore and Philly, they're very close together in the whole scheme of things. I mean, when you just look at the map, they're extremely close together, including New York and Boston. Like, these cities are like all within the space of like California. There's states that could like if California would be the whole East Coast, but within all those cities, there's so much difference in the way they talk. Like when the dudes from Philly talk, you can just tell they from Philly.
This girl is a pervert. She likes to write down people's passwords and read them at home. She gets satisfaction from mocking other people's privacy. Now she's got her eye on the class president. She wonders what secrets the gentle, handsome Lay might have. At this point, she never expected. It was that thought that brought her to her doom. She pondered how she would steal Lay's password. Suddenly she remembers that she has computer class tomorrow. She came up with a bold idea. By the next day, she tricked the teacher into giving her the key to the computer room. Then she rushed to the computer room. 6 minutes to class. Just insert the virus USB flash drive into Lay's computer now and install the hacking software. But the school's internet speed is not good, so the software is not ready yet. Look at the time. There are still 4 minutes left. Some classmates are coming soon. The girl is getting anxious. Come on, Xiao Xiao, what are you doing? It's Lei, he's early. Lei's eyes were scarlet and full of murderous rage. That's my spot. Your seat is next to mine. Xiao Xiao panicked. Lei keeps moving closer and closer to her. What you do with my computer? Xiao Xiao, who was a thief, stammered. I'm downloading the game. Really? Can I see what game it is? Lei is getting closer and closer. He's about to see the computer screen. At this point, there are still 5% left until the software is downloaded. If he finds out, Xiao Xiao can't even imagine. But Lei suddenly covers her nose. He smells the stench again. The stench from Xiao Xiao's body. He still doesn't want to get too close to her. Lei mentioned that he left something in the classroom and had to go back to get it first. He told Xiao Xiao to uninstall the game quickly, and then left. At this point, the software installation is complete. Xiao Xiao says yes, but a sickly smile spreads across her face. Now I'll know Lei's secret. It's time for class. Xiao Xiao peeks into Lei's computer and realizes that Lei hasn't logged into his account. Instead, he typed in another. What the hell? And just as it's about to land, Lei suddenly stops, mouthing the words, not this one. That was close. Xiao Xiao sees this and wonders. So Lei has 2 accounts. That's cute. After school, Xiao Xiao can't wait to run home and turn on his computer. She can't wait. She quickly inserts the flash drive. The program reveals all of Lei's passwords for both accounts. Xiao Xiao is going to look at the new account first. What has Lei purchased online? What have he commented on? Xiao Xiao is so excited. She opens the log, intending to start here first, but the next second her pupils contracted. What? What is this? A perverted girl peeps into other people's privacy, but accidentally discovers the class monitor's dark secret. After getting the class monitor's password, the girl can't wait to open his account.
自由、ストレッチは自信。ミニマル。どこまでも。
James, if you make this, I'll go on a date with you.
Yeah, deal, 100%. Count it. And Dave and Buster's. That's the only place I'm going.
2 big reasons why he agreed to the date. And that's not the last hole he'd be aiming for that night.
Hey, say your names. Say.
I'm Barrett. I'm Sujin.
And they're taking us back to our motel. Okay, they are sober and they seem nice. They seem nice.
These girls seem nice. They better not do anything to us.
I got you. We're good.
My wife told me a week ago she's going to divorce me because she wants easy and something different. It's fucking with my head.
You said your wife wants to divorce you?
Yeah, she's about to.
Yeah, you brought that
And
shit
nobody does.
live,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah. And it's fucking with my head, my self-confidence, and what's your advice on how to navigate through
this
it?
shit. Honestly?
Yeah.
Have you been good to her?
Yeah.
Real good?
I can do better.
I'm gonna be real.
Yeah.
Fuck her. I'm not trying to be mean. She doesn't want you anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a hard reality.
Yeah.
I've had several motherfuckers not want me anymore. And it hurt, lost weight, gained weight, couldn't sleep, crazy. While that motherfucker's out there getting ass, chilling out, going to club, and I'm fucking miserable, wasting time while she's living. It's a real easy answer. You gotta get back out there. I'm not saying get back on the horse, but you gotta stop the feelings you feel right now.
Yeah.
There's something, like I said, there's something that everybody's dealing with. And your feelings are the one thing in life that will hurt you from moving forward. It'd be different if she still loved you.
Yeah.
And there was an issue going on. If she wants to divorce you, she's done with you, man. Suck that shit the fuck up and move on.
Men are in marriage because of love and the connection, but some women are in marriage for business. And remember this, it's lonelier to be with a person who doesn't want you than it is to be by yourself. This is why I always tell you guys, get the girl that likes you, not the girl you want.
I always say to men, you will never ever get the same level of respect and love from a woman who's not attracted to you. Choose a woman who's attracted to you. When you try and bypass that because you want to
Yo, what's going on? Yeah, this typhoon is having a good time with my streaming setup. So, hey, Neurojack, I think that's you in the chat. If you want to come up and explain what you were saying, I think it would be a lot more interesting than what that cheek slaying dude on the video has to say. So hit the link if you like. Lower this. Let me see. Yeah, I was playing that music for some copyright buffer on there. But a lot of these guys on the videos, these Manosphere, Red Pill, leveling up videos, I mean, they say all the right things and whatnot, but it doesn't seem like they have much experience about long-term relationships, especially, and probably even short-term relationships too. So I don't know, man. They can say all that, but what's really going on? Do they have a working model about what's worked for them? I don't know. Let's see. So if you want to come up and chat, let me know, bro. Yeah, hold up for a second. It's never for nothing, man. In my opinion, it's being recorded for the ethers, bro. These are always going to be archives and clipped up. Me personally, I use these lives as a live studio where I can condense what we're have to say, because a lot of people, they're not in it for the long chats. They can't sit in there for hours or even maybe even fucking 15 minutes. So I like to break these down, and then I put the link in there for in case you want to listen to the whole broadcast. So it's up to you, man. Because coming to a point where I really don't feel moved to speak much when I'm just here on the mic by myself. I can do it. I mean, I've done it before, like for hours at a time. However, it's a little bit more interesting, and you can sharpen steel better and have a good build with somebody else that you're speaking with. But it's up to you. We shall see. It's hard. There's no hope for this generation. Is there really?
You don't have to talk to me if you don't want to. It's fine. But I can't be by myself right now. I'm afraid of what I'm gonna do. I love you more than anything.
When did you know our friendship was over?
When you my girlfriend.
Well, dude, I was just sad, and she was always there. It's like the availability aspect of it.
Just, take the whole world's advice and move on and find someone else. That wouldn't be love. That would be some other disposable thing that is not worth fighting for.
Women were very serious about who they picked. Like, if I interviewed my grandma on my channel about how she chose her husband, and she said, well, I thought about, can he support me and a bunch of kids? Is his family nice? Does he believe in the same things as me? What church does he go to? Does he have a good reputation? Now, if you ask a girl, like these girls, right, they're like, whoever's going to plow me hardest in the back of a car is who I'm going to go for.
I mean, but she said her story. Is that Rachel Wilson, Andrew's wife? She probably was, no disrespect, but she probably was getting her fair share, getting plowed hard when she had her 2 kids. And granted, she does make it a point to say that she was only with 2 men before. But you could be with 2 men, but you could be banging like for times 1,000 with that one or 2 men. But anyway, that's beyond the point. The fact is that she learned from experience, and she kind of like through negation, she knows what she wants, and seems to have gotten what she wants in a partner, in a husband. So We shall see. Yo, what's up, Jack? Nero Jack. What's cracking, bro?
Yeah. Hello. That's yeah, that's Rachel Wilson.
Yeah,
She's
Rachel Wilson.
yeah, that's a. I always laugh. That's funny. I didn't expect her to pop up on that video. That's funny.
We can't get away from them, even if we want to with Nero Jack.
They're everywhere. How
Everywhere.
did you find? How did you find them and then Machine and all that? Where did you find it all through Base Oracle?
No, actually from Kings. I don't know if you know Kings. Kings. He used to go by the name. He used to go by the name Shift. I met him in like a couple years ago in this Black Pill, Black Pill
Okay. I know
panel, whatever.
I know Black Pill communities. I mean, I never was in one, but I tried to reach out to a few before I got into Jim Bob's community, and it was really weird. Like, it's like you can't give them any advice. Like, they just like attack you every time. It's like, I was like, dude, like, I'm like literally trying to help them, and they're like, you can't help me, and I'm like, okay, so what's the point of this? It's like,
bro, they hate that. That's their kryptonite. They cannot take it when you have a. That's why they hate the red pill so much. Because I guess for lack of a better term, it does have some solutions. I don't know if they work for everyone, but they don't like solutions, bro.
I don't know how old you are. For me, like, I found Red Pill way back in the day, like in the, like 08, 07, 09, you know, like that time. It was totally different back then. Like, it was just a different like vibe, you know. It's not like today where it's like this like really weird Andrew Tate, like you gotta have like 18 whores on cam for you, or you're a punk bitch or something. It's like, I don't know where that came from, but
I mean, I'm 46. I don't know how old you are. How old are you? 40?
Oh man, okay. You sound young, so yeah. Now I'm in my mid 30s, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. You sound old.
I feel old. Trust me. I mean, I just feel old from like experience, you know. Like, I just been through like not bad, but just a lot. I've seen a lot of shit, you know. So
yeah. I mean, I don't have to say this. Preface myself. I'll say it anyway. It's a compliment. Just like sometimes someone will get butthurt. You sound young. That means you don't know nothing. No, that's good.
No, I mean, I don't mean young as in like immature. I just mean like you have a lot of energy. That's a good, you know.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, exactly. And it goes to bring up reset when we first started talking in the chat a little while ago. It's like these guys, I guess you can call them red pill guys, like this Asian dude, Cheek Slang University. He's pretty popular. He's from my hometown, San Jose, and they have this like fast shoot from the hip take on male female sexual dynamics, but like I said, I don't think they have much experience with long-term relationships, maybe even short-term.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a very mixed opinion on that kind of stuff. I mean, like that. I always think about who's the audience, and because I don't know who the audience is most of the time, like I try to like keep it general. But in general, like that's the thing, is like I don't know. Like, I would give different advice to different people, and I say that because like I've tried to give advice to a lot of people who like really, there's nothing you can say to them that's really going to click with them. It's more like if they're not willing to go try and fail, then it's not going to help them. But I think some people are willing to listen, but it's like, people are just so different, man. Sometimes I look at people, I'm like, I just have no clue like where you're coming from. It's like, I really try. And I'm like, for me, like a guy who doesn't want to find a woman, like I don't know how to deal with that. It's like, you know, like if you don't have any drive, like I don't know what to tell you. It's like, you know, like that David Goggins guy. Like, I mean, I understand both. Like, I like the David Goggins part, like because I've never really watched David Goggins, but like that's great advice in general. But the funny thing is, like, you know, that guy getting divorced, it's like, I mean, I've sympathized because like I think men really are being totally gaslit in America. I mean, especially America, but really the whole world is like just, it's really, really rough to be a guy right now. I mean, that's my opinion, but
no, it is. You see it. This is why I think the reinvention of the red pill and the white, it's so in our face nowadays because of that. And yeah, I mean, we can get back to, and also too, just not that I'm a apologist or sucking up or anything. I get it now too. How not only being a man, but being white man too. It seems to be attacked a lot too. You know.
No, well, yeah, I don't like the victim thing, but I can definitely say that, like, I
They don't
always,
need it. Yeah.
I always knew it was coming, like, because I grew up in the South, like, most predominantly white, and I was like, I just sensed it, you know, like that. It's like we're on the way out, and I mean, I don't mean that like necessarily we're getting taken out per se, but it's like I could see our culture in severe decline as a kid, and I'm like, man, this is weird. Because like, I mean, like in the South, it's like everybody's very polite, but they're too polite, right? And they really care, but they care too much about the wrong things. And then it's like when it comes to like actually doing the right thing, like I would just say, I'll put it in a very basic term, but like in a political sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
People just were unwilling to do anything drastic. And so I was like, I could just tell, I was like, this is going to slip away, because I just didn't expect it's going to slip away so drastically. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see that happening, but like, it's just obvious that, you know, this general white culture, whatever that is, the admixture European, as people call it, like, it's just in the decline. And like, I'm sad for it in one sense, because like, I do think that there's a lot of good things about white people culture, you know, but at the same time, like, we've done it to ourselves. So
yeah.
And we're in denial. And the worst part is the denial about it. And I think that's the tough part about it. And I think it's really because the people who are in positions of power, like, they don't want to admit that they've sold out their own people. And that's what I really think has happened. And the thing is, like, it's not that I love white people so much, but the world is going to follow, you know, in my opinion. Like, I think that, you know, for better or for worse, white people had a culture that, you know, with the English language and all this, like, it has been in some ways good for the world. And it's also been horrible for the world in other ways. But I think in general, like, it's an equalizing force. And now it's been hijacked, and it's going to like destroy the earth, basically.
Yeah. And even if you agree with it happening or don't agree, the point is it's the paradigm of what Western civilization, world civilization is, you know, European, like, the worldview, right? And now people don't get it that even if you're against it, and you have an idea of something new taking over, right? There's gonna be a horrible wake up call when it goes away, or if it does go away.
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
in the beginning for everybody.
It's going to be. It's like this. It's really hard to build an empire, and it's really easy to crash it down. And I think that people, you know, the only thing that's offsetting it is this technology. And the thing is, like, I just see the technology as people just take it for granted, and I don't blame them. It's not our fault, but I'm just saying, it's like, you know, that technology that you rely on and the international trade that you rely on is a weakness. And so don't be surprised when someone uses that as leverage against you. And that's what I'm saying is, like, whoever's running this stuff, like, you know, I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, I'll just use a culture that you're familiar with. Like, you've been to the mainland, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Once.
And so what's your impression of the way they live over there? Just basically, like, you don't have to get in detail, but for obvious reasons.
a quick scan is they're out for themselves, bro. Like,
right, exactly.
We should put in line.
That's enough. That right there, like, that straight up right there.
Yeah.
That's what the people in the West don't get. And so, like, that's why I'm saying the whole world, this egalitarian nonsense that whites have, is great for the world. But the problem is, like, it doesn't translate well across the world. And the thing is, like, if you, as an egalitarian Westerner, whether you're a Blaxican or a white boy like me from the middle of nowhere, like, when I came to Cali and I was holding doors open for people and I was being polite to people, you know what? Like I lost a lot of respect from people here, including the people, the woman I was dating and stuff. She's like, don't do that. And I'm like, why? And she's like, because that's not how we do it. And like people look down on me, and they also thought I was trying to like use them or take advantage of them or something. It's like, it's really weird to me. It's like what I thought was just normal culture of like being polite and trying to like respect people. People didn't, and the only people who appreciated that was gangsters or people who were from that street life, because respect is always number one, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was weird to me. It's like, how come I only get respect from people who are like literal like criminals, but I don't get respect from like the average person walking down the street? And so it really like an eye opener for me, and like I've dealt with almost every culture on a macro scale, not like every country, but I've dealt with Eastern Europeans, I've dealt with Asians, I've dealt with of almost every kind. I've dealt with people from Latin America, and I get along with almost everyone. The people I don't get along with the most is white people, because I keep trying to like tell them like, hey, you guys need to wake the fuck up, and they don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? So it's really bizarre to me. It's like, that's why the whole race thing is funny to me. It's like, supposedly I'm one of the most racist people because I want to protect my culture, but at the same time, like I get along better with anyone other than my own race and culture. It's really weird.
Yeah, when I got into I guess it wasn't officially red pill, but it had a lot of red pill attributes to it. 2013, when I got married, I discovered like this internet, like Blog Talk Radio and stuff, and I used to go on some of these shows, and one of the ones I used to go on a lot was kind of like a metaphysical, but based in like what's his name, Honorable Elijah Muhammad type of thinking, But they would talk about metaphysics and stuff like that, and I guess you can categorize them as Black nationalists, right? And the interesting thing is, people used to call into that broadcast all the time, like skinheads and white supremacists, and also like Hebrew Israelites and stuff like that. But it's funny that the people who were the most prioritize the continuation of their race, or some of the most kind of like, in a weird, strange way, normal way people to talk to. Like, got to the point.
No, that's true. No, that's true. And that's what's so weird to me is like, I've literally talked to Black Panthers, white nationalists, all these like, and like even like hardcore like Asian nationalists and stuff. And I'm like talking to them, and I'm like, you're the only normal people that I've really met, because like you see very clearly what's happening. And it's like, they don't actually see themselves. And that's the weird thing about Cali, is like this prison mentality here is actually strange, because all the woke stuff here doesn't really apply, except for like a lot of weirdos, right? Like it's just something there to placate weirdos. But most of the people here, because of the prison culture in California, actually the people from different sets, I guess you'd say different races, actually respect each other if you conglomerate into your racial group, because that's how people negotiate. They do it as a clan, as a tribe, as whatever. And it's kind of weird. That's why California is so strange to me, because it should, like, California is actually not as left-hard as everybody thinks it is. I think it's a misconception in a lot of ways. Like, most people here are just trying to like survive and take care of their family, etc. But then we have this like psychopathic, like, I don't even like the word communist anymore. They're like some weird like cult of death or something. I don't know what it is, but it's like they have, and like, I don't know, like they're obviously trying to gaslight the population into hating each other, and it's not really working. So they just keep pushing it. And it's like fabricating this evidence that there's all this racial tension, when I think it's weird. Like where I grew up, there wasn't racial tension really in the South, where I grew up at least. And then now there is racial tension there, and there's not really racial tension here, except for people in general don't like criminals, right? Like people don't like their shit getting broken into. So, it's mostly, Black and some Hispanics. But the funny thing is, like, out of all the people here in California, a lot of the criminals are not even from California. That's the crazy part. Like they're from other places, and they come here because they think they can get away with it, and they do. So it's really, really strange, like how California is a very strange, like, I think it's like a test, I think it's like a scientific experiment or something, like what they're doing here, and like that they're kind of perfecting like how do we like control people in this new system. Like that's my opinion. Like I don't know how to describe it, but
Oh yeah, it is like a beta test for many policies. Just like you can go the deep conspiracy of geopolitical conspiracies, like China is like the model for if there was going to be a world government.
Well, see, but sorry, and I got off topic, but like what you said about people being self-centered in Asia. See, this is the thing. Like, if like I'm not a pro China or communist thing, but what I'm saying is like if you're dealing with a population that are mostly out for themselves, you're gonna have to take certain precautions if you want to stabilize your society. So that's what I see happening. See, they couldn't get them to become Christian. They couldn't put the white egalitarian brain into an Asian man because it doesn't work, right? So now they're trying to like whatever they're doing, I don't know, but they're doing something else. And I think like they're doing this driver, like they're doing the cameras to watch people in China. Like I don't know if you've seen people in Asia.
Yeah, I just saw that on a meme.
Yeah,
so one of our friends, mutual friends, had that Twitter or talking about that.
But
with all
see,
the cameras, and all the cities and stuff.
But see, this is the thing is like, look, I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but what I'm saying is like, if I were in China and I was in charge, I'd probably do that too. Because look, the thing is, people drive it. People don't care. Like literally, people run each other over not to have to pay to put you through the hospital and get in trouble and go to jail. So because it's cheaper if they kill you. So I mean, look, I mean, when you're dealing with a society like that, I'm not saying everyone's like that, but that's unheard of in the United States, right?
Everyone
like,
has cameras, bro. Like even not just Asia and Taiwan and China, but Europe. People put cameras in their car for that very reason, to cover their ass, self-preservation, so people don't fuck them over.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like everybody's looking for an edge right now, and the thing is the West isn't prepared for that mentality. That's why I'm anti-immigration. It's not because I think people from other countries are stupid or bad or whatever. I mean, that you can make those arguments, but I'm saying like for me it's like the West is not prepared for a different mindset like that. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think that we have the capacity to process like, you know, people from other places are for real savages, okay? Like, you know, I mean, and I'm not saying that like as a, you know, to put them down. Like I respect it in a weird way. I'm just saying like the West is not going to survive. Like they're just not, you know, like you're not going to survive against people that don't give a fuck. You know, like I just don't think that we're ready for that, you know? So
yeah, there's no standards. And also too, like because it's the ultimate experience, America on a whole, like the melting pot, as they say, technically they can't say this is what an American is. A black person or a white person or Asian, you know what I mean? So it's like they can't rally, or people can't rally around. Let's fuck it, genetics,
right?
Because it's such a mix of everything. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to think of other countries that are kind of similar that have this open, you know, multi, you know, ethnic genetic like population, but there's no other country like the US, huh?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the closest, ironically, is like Russia, maybe. Like, I think that's that's probably, or Canada, but that doesn't count.
But even then, those people are like Russia, and even China has a lot of different ethnicities. Supposedly, like they're still kind of under the wing of Asian. You know what I mean? That continent, that land structure, Whereas America, everyone, we're everything, bro.
Well, and it's weird. Like, and here's the funny thing is like, I get along better with immigrants, to be honest, like on average, because they appreciate, like the first thing they want to do is stop people from coming from where they're from because they don't want their country. They don't want this country to become like where they came from, right? They realize
I say that
like,
about here, dude. About expats. I said I don't want a lot of expats.
No, that's exactly right. No, like that's the weird thing for me too. Is like I told you, like if you go to like Southeast Asia, like Thailand or Cambodia, like a lot of these, I actually hate this whole influencer economy because a lot of these people are going to Thailand,
blowing it up.
Yeah, and they're attracting the exact people that I don't want to go there because they're ruining the whole purpose of going there, which is like You keep it on the DL. You come over there. You enjoy the culture, and you stop trying to change their fucking culture. Like, I don't want to change their culture. Okay, like, yeah, they're fucked up, but like, if it changes, it should be gradual. And I don't want them to like the Thai people don't see what's coming for them, and I see what's coming for them. They're trying to get rid of their king and get rid of their military junta, which, look, it has its problems. But if you democratize a place like Thailand, that place will be gone in 20 years or less.
Yeah.
Like it will be totally destroyed. And it's like, and I think somebody told me like that's what happened to Nepal. They got rid of their their system of government and tried to quote unquote democratize it. They ate each other they just destroyed their whole country in 10 years or 5 years or something. It's like, so
damn. And then Thailand has a history of being like somewhat sovereign in the sense that they didn't get influenced by as much by Cambodia or Laos.
Yep.
By the
they fought countries. They fought for their independence very hard, and it shows, in my opinion. Like, if you look at the problems of all the surrounding countries, like, they suffered a lot. And
Myanmar,
yeah, and Thailand, for whatever their problems may be, like, they really self-protected. And to me, it's like it's a very interesting case, because like their government is very corrupt, but they are they're very protectionist of their people and their interests. And they don't let you. It's very difficult to do business there. It's very difficult to immigrate there. It's very, very difficult to break the rules there. And you can, but you're going to pay. You know what I mean? So
cut back their, the big weed thing was like the last couple of years, but now I heard news a couple of weeks ago that they're going to slash a lot of those clubs.
I'll be honest. I think that's the
recreational.
best. I think that's the best possible thing they can do, because I'll tell you why. When I was there, it was illegal and everybody did it anyways. And it was
right.
But it was respectful. You do it at home.
Discreet.
Discreet.
Just I'm sure it goes like here too.
And you don't make a mockery of everything. It's just like the alcohol. They let you drink all you want, but they, on holidays and on certain days or certain times, they cut that shit out and they say, look, you're not going to overdo it. And if you do, we're going to catch you and you're going to pay. So it's like they force you to like not disrespect their culture, right?
Civilization, bro. People have no respect, especially in Cali.
Yep. No, and the funny thing here in Cali is like people are so disrespectful here, but they don't get beat up for it. And I think that's the problem. And like I'm not a big like violence person, but I think that it's like people here, like, they don't know what it's really like. Like in the South, people don't disrespect because they won't say anything. They'll just go beat you. They'll just go beat the shit out of you. Like they won't like, oh yeah. It's getting more ghetto. It's getting more ghetto now. But I'm just saying, like in general, people don't run their mouth very often.
People, or in California, they run their mouth, but like you said, like in the South, people won't run their mouth, but they'll check you for it. And it kind of reminds me of Rant yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Like he has that's his name. He has great rants. Mike has great rants and stuff like that. When he speaks and he confronts people like Pill Eater and say like, you've never been in a fight, or you never had violence. But the funny thing is, like, he don't know that. And another thing too, the way you're speaking, Rant, it's like, you sound like you haven't really. Because a lot of times I know people that have been in wars, been in gangs, and they run their mouth the least. Some of the people that have been through the shit.
Well, see, that's the thing is like I'm ambivalent. I'm not sure. I like both Pill Eater and Rant, and I agree with them and disagree with them almost equally. But like, yeah, and I can see both their perspectives. So I don't want to say too much, just because like I don't want them to think I'm disrespecting them. But like I totally see your point.
No, out there. No disrespect to them.
Oh no, I know. But I just don't want them to take it out of context, because like I see your point too. But I think it's like weird, because like I think there's a place for like checking each other, and like the first time I met Rand, I tried to check him philosophically, I guess you'd say, and like, but he was cool about it, right? But then like I see that like he's also he reminds me of some of my best friends who are like the best trolls ever, who like they know how to get under your skin. And like for me, like I'm not really a thick-skinned person, but like I don't really like put myself out there that much because I don't like people to get under my skin because like I will hurt people. So like, you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like I'm more protecting other people, right? Like I don't want people to try to get under my skin. So it's like I don't really let it get to that point because I pretty much tell people like you can get under my skin, but you're not gonna like what happens. So like just don't do it, you know. And people usually find out pretty quick. Like I'm not joking. So it's like but because usually it has to be something very personal, you know, for me. It's not like you can say like whatever you want about Jesus, you can say whatever you want about all this stuff. Like, I mean, I'll just eventually leave the room, but if you follow me, like that's the problem. Like it's like just like if I try to leave, just let me go, right? But like a lot of these people, like they don't understand. It's like I do see a value in trolling people, especially people's ideas. And it's like for the most part, what I saw happening with Rant and Pill Eater, like they're trolling each other's ideas, and like yeah, it got a little personal, but I think it didn't get like super too personal. So like I see the value in it.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of have like mixed feelings about it. Like I think like I wish I was better in like trolling people in that way because like I think there is actually a lot of value. Like I actually saw good points that both of them brought up for each other.
Yeah.
And
the trickster archetype,
yeah.
bro. It sharpens you, the trickster archetype. Yeah.
Yes,
That's why
yes.
I don't do it like from the same reasons that you don't, because I'll just get mean and very personal, bro. That's why I shut up a lot of the times.
No, you're smart, and like sometimes I do, and I realize like sometimes I do it, and then people don't know that I'm not really trying to be personal. Like
yeah.
But like, but that's the thing is like, if I see something that's like wrong, like sometimes it's not really like me thinking. It's like my instincts is telling me something's really fucked up, and so like, I will really actually like push things really far. But like, usually when that happens, that means that like my instincts were correct, and like I don't want to see what happens. Because like, if I'm really correct, like I don't know if this person is connected to something else or what. So that's why like sometimes I'm also like more and more trying to step back as far as opinion making, because I realize like a lot of these people, we don't really know who they are or what they're doing, but like I can tell you the reactions that I've got from some of these bigger name people is like they really don't seem to want original thought injected into the conversation. So it's like I don't know what that's about, but it kind of
like
gives
when
me
you're talking to Hank about Jay Dyer, you're like, I don't think he would like what I have to say. You know, type of shit. But
Well,
speaking about like these people that get really personal and stuff. This is who I see. I see GS like that sometimes. Which another guy I like watching his content because he's hella funny to me, and he does have some good points, some old world like advice, old man advice, you know, type of shit. But you know, generally he's Pacific. That guy, he gets really butthurt sometimes. When he's talking
he's a really nasty dude. Like I try to be cool with that dude, but he's like really nasty. And I'm like, dude, like you would not do this if you're in the same room with me. You know, like it's like I don't know what your deal is, but like he's like, you're a fucking Satanist, you're a liar, you're the son of the Satan of the devil, you're like the son of the devil. Blah, blah. I'm like, dude, like the shit you're saying doesn't make any sense, and I'm just trying to like point that out to you. I'm not even against you.
Were you military?
No, I wanted to be. I almost signed the paperwork. I should have been, but I wasn't. No.
Like IFI, almost.
Yeah, no, I had my line. I literally had my pen on the line, and I just like last second, I was just like, I can't do it. You know?
Yeah.
I just had too much like moral objection to like have putting someone above me just tell me you have to go shoot this person. You know, like I'm not saying I'm against that. With everything going on in the early 2000s, I was like, I don't know, I couldn't do it, you know.
Yeah. I think I mean, if there is reincarnation, I definitely think I was a warrior before, and this time around, I'm like, fuck that shit. It's time to go the other way now.
No, that's
I feel for it though. I could have saw myself like in it, but
no, exactly.
I didn't do it.
I think I could have been like a French or a Dutch or a Scottish warrior or like a samurai or some shit. I really think like, you know, if there is reincarnation, I know that sounds really gay or something, but like I really feel like
we can talk about that. I don't give a fuck. We can talk about that shit on my platform.
But that's the thing is like I did martial arts as a kid too, so like I take that also very seriously. Like with every responsibility, you know, with any power, you have to take it as like with like a equal level of responsibility. And I think that's the problem. It's like a lot of people, they don't want to grab the power but they don't want to be responsible for it. And I think that's why I had mixed feelings about the way the government and all this stuff is working. Is like, as bad as they are, what would happen if the average person got a hold of that power? I mean, it's probably some bad shit.
Yeah,
So
worse
it's
than
kind of
Biden.
a mixed thing.
No, worse than much worse. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look, somebody's running the show behind the scenes, obviously.
absolutely.
But imagine if the average Joe got in. I mean, it's going to be fucking a nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, on a macro scale. I think on the small scale, see, and this is the other thing is like, again, this is my thing with the West. Like, in the West, people are so docile and safe, right? But the rest of the world is not like that. So I think that's the other side is like, and I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. I think it's great. I think we should be very, we should feel great that we have that privilege. But I think we should also like equally fight to keep that privilege, because if we don't, we're gonna lose it. You know, like, or we're just gonna go into some like weird transhumanist thing where everybody plays video games until they die and people stop having kids, which is also equally kind of fucked up. So, you know, it could go either way. I don't know, but.
Or just die on the panelverse about more people.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's a real I mean, I don't want to say problem, but it's a real possibility, I guess I'd say, right? So, and
this is why the machine lies, finding his content and meeting you and listen to you and Pill Eater. It's like, it's really refreshing, even though I couldn't see myself like in the past be like, fuck these motherfuckers, like talking shit. But you're talking about from your point of view, like that conversation you guys had on his show, like about a week ago, about like what's he call it, Asian Aryan future, and also
yeah. I mean,
like, but it's like, bro, I've been on the other side on the the black nationalists, and they're saying the same thing, except from the other, from that side. So it's like, it's interesting to hear you guys. Because normally those people, if they don't do any research, they think like the white nationalist is like a militia dude from Alabama, but not Silicon Valley guy, or this is normal.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, I've never been like into the tech world or anything like that. I've just been adjacent to it. Like, I've worked around it, and I've met some people who are in that, not like at a super high level, but high enough to where
you're
like,
very cerebral like those people though. That's a commonality.
Right. Well, I think so, but like, I definitely see that like you have to sell your soul to get like at a higher level in those companies. And like, I think that it's a blessing that I didn't go do that or get in the military. Cause like, I can tell you, like, I would have been it's kind of weird. Like, that's the weird thing about being like having the mentality that people like you and I have. Like, we go into it like like this warrior aspect, but that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, if you're in a hierarchical structure and you're like the wild card, that's a very dangerous place. That's the whole thing, like the whole red pill thing. Like, everyone's like, be an alpha, be an alpha. It's like, alphas get killed a lot. Like, if you're alpha and you go into a group, you're gonna get killed usually. For like, because all those betas
being pushed.
Huh?
This is why the Sigma male's being pushed, like in the meme culture.
Right.
We've knew about the Sigma for years, the lone wolf, but like this more I guess more self-preservation.
Yeah, well, I think
alpha.
I think that's a big part of my survival strategy as growing up in the South, because like, I did not get along with the rednecks. I did not get along with really anybody on a deep level. I got along with everyone basically, but on a deeper level, like, my best friends were all dropouts. I did pretty good in school. Like, it wasn't hard for me, but like, my best friends were all like dropouts because like, they were willing to push the envelope, and they were willing to let me sit in the background and not like let everybody know like really what I thought. Because I was also like, if I really tell people what I think, I'm gonna get like in a lot of trouble, right? Like in school.
I mean, you're alike in that way, bro.
Yeah.
Totally. I for many years I shut the fuck up and observe, and everyone would be like, "Oh, Gabriel, you're such you're a cool friend," and I but it's because I shut my mouth and just observe.
Yeah,
but now
no, for real. Shit. Well, I thought maybe, and a lot of it was just like, I know this sounds like bullshit, like, but I think a lot of it was humility. Like, I really doubted. I was like, maybe I'm wrong, like maybe my perception's fucked up, And then now that I'm much older, I'm like 20 years later, I'm like, my perception wasn't wrong, and that makes me feel worse in a way. It's like, like, it makes me feel bad. I'm like, shit, I was right.
Yeah, for me, I think it's confidence too, like gaining confidence over the years and stuff like that. And just because I'm a chill, I like just things copacetic, and it's fun to push the envelope for sure. But
Well, I'm sure that like a guy like me or you or Machine or Pill Eater or Rant, like we go into a bar or whatever, like
we're gonna have a good time.
We're gonna have a great time, and there's gonna be a lot of people who don't like us having a good time. Like I
Yeah.
can tell you know what I mean?
Like
It's
those guys are. Can you imagine that? Just that visceral picture. It looked like Benetton.
Yeah,
they call that Benetton. Like we're not supposed to have these conversations. Allegedly, that's what I mean. Who's they? But like,
it's the average person. That's the fucked up part. I mean, it's like, I don't know where you. I'll give you an example. This is like off put it. Like I'm not like a whole like Nazi or like Jew hater. I'm not like that, you know. But I definitely recognize there's some weird patterns going on, and it's like it. But like I have a much more nuanced opinion about this than anybody I know with the same level of awareness like we do, right? But like what I'm saying is like just a brief example. Like I know a lot of these white nationalist guys that exist now, like the old from 5-10 years ago. The white nationalists were much more cerebral and like funny and like not hateful as like they are now, right? They were just basically like, hey, this might be the last shot to like save America from getting invaded the way Europe has. And so I was like, yeah. And then like I'm from the South. You remember they've taken all those statues, right?
Yeah,
so like my understanding of
history,
of the Civil War is very, very different than the current narrative of the Civil War now. My understanding was that whites in the South never wanted slavery. They always wanted to either A, free them, or B, stop bringing them here. And they also didn't really want to like kill all the Indians either, right? So like my understanding of the whole situation that was going on is a lot of white people came to the South specifically and colonized it, yes, but they basically tried to make agreements with the natives, and they never wanted slaves, right? So that was always my understanding of the whole situation.
How did you come up with that? Was that through your personal study or through school or a combination? Or?
A combination. I mean, my understanding was like the 13 colonies was like basically, I think in the North it was a little bit different, the Puritans or whatever, but in the South it's like Scotch Irish people, right? So
right. That's my grandpa's
it's a little bit different. Like they didn't have this like imperialistic, we need to take over America. They didn't have the numbers, number one. Number two, they don't see themselves as like God's messengers on earth per se. They see themselves as like normal people trying to do average things, right? And then
that's Thomas Sowell's whole argument about the white redneck blacks nigga culture came from Scotch Irish people.
I totally believe it. I mean, dude, my grandfather was my grandfather is a Scottish family. He's like second or third generation. Grew up living with tenant farmers that were all black. So they're like the white black family living as like in a dirt floor and shit with like 9 kids out picking cotton. And again, I'm not saying, oh, look at us. I'm just saying, like, as an example, like people don't see that side of like what it was like for white people in the South, right? Like they were basically more or less, you know, separate but equal with black people, you know, because they didn't own land, they didn't own anything, basically. I mean, they basically barely
social economics was the barrier more than anything.
So and so the way that I understood all this, I say all that to say that like my understanding of the whole situation in the South was that the English basically failed to completely take over because of the Revolutionary War for the United States, right? And then what happened is about 100 years later, they had another civil war where they basically pushed the South and funded them. And then in the North, someone else funded them. And then basically they had this big war where a bunch of white people killed each other for no reason, supposedly over slavery. But I don't think that's the case because, again, I don't think people in the South ever really wanted slaves. A bunch of rich white people who may or may not have been Jewish probably did, But then what happened is big business boomed because of technology in the North, and they said, you guys are not going to separate from us, which it's debatable whether they were right or not. I think they had the right cause for the wrong reasons in the North, and I think in the South they had the wrong cause for the right reasons, which is kind of weird. But it's like they didn't want to be controlled by the North, but at the same time they had the English in their ear and subverting the United States. And I think truly at the end of the day, if you look at everything that's happened, I think the United States has been totally subverted from 1865 forward. I think America doesn't exist anymore since that period, and especially since the 1930s and 1940s. I think that America is not its own country anymore, personally. But anyways, my point of it, when I saw them taking down the statues in the South, I was very upset about that, because I was like, they're making it seem as if Robert E. Lee or the Confederate generals were a bunch of racist people who hated black people. Okay. Like, I just don't think that's true. Like, I don't think, like, I think that's just a total misrepresentation of how Southern people view themselves or view the history. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're stupid rednecks who think that, they should just go kill a bunch of black people. I don't think there's that many. I think that's very, very few people who have that attitude.
It's not sustainable to have an attitude like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of mixed people in the South. Okay, there's a lot of people who are mixed. So it's like it's not really real. I think that a lot of the racial
and not just off rape either.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of people who just choose to mix or whatever. And so again, it's. I'm just saying. My point is, it was a lot more cerebral, and now I've seen how they've evolved it, the whole white nationalist thing, and they've made a complete mockery. And now they added on the Christian nationalist side of it, and now they've added in this whole. I mean, they just added in a lot of shit that has nothing to do with anything that I ever believed in. So I'm just like, to me, it's like just a weird experience to watch everything that I cared about and everything that I see as true, like just basically being used as a weapon against people. And the funny thing is like, here's the weird part to me is like, I think a lot of it is not to actually change people's minds. It's actually just to make a theatrical production that people can put on the news and say, look. And then whether people believe it or not, it doesn't even matter. The point is that you made this like movie for people to watch, and then people watch it and they're like, yeah, exactly. It just gets your attention. So it's like, it's basically like people are just living in a narrative rather than like living in reality. And I think that's really the weird part to me. Is like, it doesn't even matter what the truth is because people can't access the truth anyway. So it's like, that's a very weird position, for me to like, after reading Orwell or something like that, it's like wow, we're really here where people don't know what's real or not,
But of course you've probably seen the documentary Century of the South, right? With Edward
I never
Bernays.
seen that one.
It's a good one about Edward Bernays and the history of public speaking, public relations, marketing, and how this permeates everything nowadays. But the guy, he made another more recent documentary called I think it's called like Hyper. I always say hyper reality, but it's basically talking about what you just said, how you cannot, and it gives examples throughout recent history about you can't even tell if things are real anymore. Even these stories that are pumped all over the world, you can't even tell. But that's not. But the point is that it takes your attention. It takes, just like, for example, like in the panel verse, how you may not even be a Christian. You may hate Christianity. You may love Christianity. You may think Jesus is this or not. But if you want to talk about something like philosophical, I'm kind of generalizing, but it seems like you always have to bring up Jesus. And I'm not saying I don't like Jesus or whatever, but it's just that whole program.
Oh no, I get it. I mean, look, I consider
it gets
myself
old after a while, bro.
No, I totally understand. Like, I'm a Christian, and like I try not to really bring it up too much, because I don't think it's important or whatever, but it's just like everything else. Like, it's just like I don't call myself a white nationalist because the truth is, look, I think that like Pill Eater said, it's solipsism. You can believe in whatever you want. If you have no actual way to make it happen, it's irrelevant. So like now what? You know, it's like, okay, I want to be a billionaire, but I don't actually have a plan to get there. So I mean, I can want it, but it's irrelevant, right? So it's like that's the way I look at it. It's like I think it would be ideal if people generally had like a racial thing, only because that's kind of like normal for human beings. But I'm also like totally fine if everybody mixes up or whatever. I think that the problem is that most people are not actually choosing these things. I think that's the problem. Is like we're kind of being led for whatever reason towards what we're doing, at least to a higher degree than most people think. And I think that that's weird to me. Is like there's probably ulterior motives. So for me, I'm like, what's really behind this whole thing? And I think the same thing with the Jesus thing. It's like most of the time when people are bringing up Jesus, like they're either trying to sell you something, steal from you, or probably kill you, right? Like they're not really interested in like saving you, right? And I think that's where I have a problem with it. And again, that's why I kind of take this Christian nationalist / white nationalist thing kind of personal. Is like, I don't think these people are genuinely interested in any of that. That's my personal opinion. Like, I think that they're selling us something that has nothing to do with what they say it's about. That's just my personal opinion, you know?
Yeah, they're just using that. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, I don't think Jesus intended for people to hide behind him. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
You know, I don't think people said, "Oh, wave my name around and then like do whatever the hell you want in my name." Like, I don't think that's what he was trying to say. You know, so I have a problem with that.
Pretty much all the religious icons, I don't think they wanted people to, and even the ones that are anti-religion, Aleister Crowley, they didn't want people to worship them. Well, at least they did that.
Well, here's the thing about Aleister Crowley is like, look, Aleister Crowley has won this past century. Okay, like,
oh yeah,
definitely.
That's his hand.
That dude has influenced a lot of people, and here's the thing: is they don't go around telling everybody that he's influenced them, right? So,
nope.
You know, and I think that's the thing is like, and again, like, here's the thing about being a Christian is like, you know, someone who follows Aleister Crowley will certainly come up to you and say, "I'm a Christian," because it has nothing to do. It doesn't bother them to say that, right? So,
yeah.
You know, so that's just my opinion. It's like, you know, it's like I think that's the thing is people just take everything at face value, and like even like here's the point I was going to say earlier. It's like, so the whole Jewish thing. The reason I brought it up. Like there's a lot of white people right now, right? A lot of people who say, "Oh, I'm a white nationalist," or, you know, these Jews are doing all these bad things to me. And I'm like, okay, let's assume that you're right. What are you going to do about it? Well, I'm going to complain on the internet and make everyone hate me and never give me a job or give me power or give me money because I'm just going around telling everybody I hate Jews all day. It's like, oh, that sounds like a great plan. Let's see how that works out for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
Adam Green falls into that part. Adam Green falls into that. More or less, or
well, I mean, I'm not even talking about him. I'm talking about just like the average guy. Like Adam Green at least has some sophistication of what he's saying, but like I'm talking about the normal, average white nationalist guy or whatever. Like the guy who's from bumfuck nowhere, America, who's like, who thinks all his problems are because of Jews. I say this. It's okay, so let's assume that you're correct. Why
black
are all
guys
these
like that too, dude?
Yeah, no, and
black everyone.
Look, here's the thing: is here's the irony in all this, right? Here's the ironic part. Okay, so I consider myself a white nationalist, more or less. I mean, again, it's not really like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get it. It's more like it would probably be best if people generally had this. I don't think it's ever gonna happen for the foreseeable next 100 years. Okay, so it's irrelevant to me, right? So now what? So again, I talked to the average guy who's from wherever. And he's like, oh, I'm a white nationalist. And I'm like, okay. So your plan is to just tell everybody it's the Jews, it's the Jews, it's the Jews, and then hope that people will come together against the Jews. And then what? Okay. So and that's number one. Number two, those Jews are 1% of the population on Earth, more or less. How was 1% of the population able to control the most powerful military in the world, the most powerful economy in the world? Well, they must have some help. So why are the people in our government helping them out? You got to ask yourself that question. There's some reason why. And then you know what they say to me? Well, I don't know why I should stop talking about the Jews. I'm like, okay, how is you complaining about the Jews going to change the 99% of other people who are going along with what they want. Obviously, there's something that they know that you don't know. So like, why don't you turn and talk to white people and say, hey, white people, why don't you build something that's actually good? And my personal opinion is that's why you have people like Elon Musk who are doing this bullshit like, oh, we're going to go to Mars, we're going to do this, it's going to do that. It's like giving people a distraction to say that they don't actually want to build their own vision, which for me, I'm more like a Jeffersonian kind of American. I think that Jefferson had the right idea. 80% agrarian, 20% industrial. I think that's the way America should be. Most people should be growing crops and representing their government, and everything else should be defending the borders and then trade and then travel outside and go see the world and come back home and invest in your own country. Like that's the way it should be. And then you let people in or let people leave if you want, right? That's a very basic idea. I think that's the way the world should be. It's like 80% agrarian, 20% industrial. We don't need a lot of technology to take care of the world. It's very cheap to like make water, make food, make houses, make clothes, make, energy. It's not really that super complicated, but we're making it so complicated. And I don't think it's an accident. So I'm just saying, like, my point in bringing all this up is like, why are people screaming about the Jews all day, but they're not willing to like, just like go meet their neighbor regardless of what color they are and say, hey, like, let's make a nice neighborhood to live in. Like that seems like a reasonable thing to do. And then, oh, by the way, let's like actually hold our politicians accountable. Yeah. But see, no, we're going to we're going to storm the Capitol and we're going to make ourselves get in prison. It's like, okay, how's that going to help?
Right. Like, what a stupid debate. Like right now, this is the debate of the season right now, right? Destiny versus Andrew Wilson.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. Come on, bro. And how's that helping us in our sphere of influence?
That's what I'm saying, dude. And look, I'm not even trying to like talk shit. Like,
no, for
I'm
sure
they have their reasons.
Let them get their money. It's like,
but
I don't mind.
I think they have agents. I mean, that's all I can say is like, I think they have some sort of like entertainment agent or something. And I'm not even knocking it. Like, I'm just saying, like, to me at the end, and I'm being overly nice, but it's because I'm a little bit scared of the people around them. But let's be, to be real, but
you're still in America. I'm in Taiwan.
I know. Trust me. Like if I ever leave the United States, I'll probably open a can of worms on them. But I mean, for me, it's just like I just look at it and I'm like, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? It's like I didn't watch the debate, but like the fact that there is even a debate about was it an insurrection or not? I mean, it's like
that's like 2 years ago almost. Right?
I think it's 3 years. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, because the election's this year. So 3 years.
And to me, it's like I don't even know who took what side. And to me, it's like nothing would surprise me at this point. But the point is, to me, it's like whatever the truth of, like, and I'm one of the people that I was almost celebrating that day. I was like, oh, great, people are going to go and show that they're capable of doing such a thing if they see. It was more about if 1 million people showed up peacefully and just basically said, hey, we don't really trust you guys. See, I agree with that.
Yeah, that's enough.
What I don't agree with is let's go be idiots and put ourselves in a position to get set up, because obviously someone in the deep state or some rogue agency decided, hey, let's fabricate a bunch of evidence to make these 1 million people look like terrorists. To see that. And see, this is the thing. This is why I'm saying Americans don't understand the way the world works. Okay. There's these things called like live action role playing. Right. And this is how the world works. Right. Like the world works by people like the whole like false flag, it's a false flag. Oh, it's like, like that's basic 101 military strategy. Okay, like if you want to start a war, what you do is you dress up like the bad guy, you go do a crime, and you say, oh, it was them, not me. I mean, come on. It's like
I've seen this, bro.
History.
when I was going to school in the city, San Francisco, like during the Occupy movement, I remember I was shooting like video, like a little documentary, and there's people that would show up at City Hall, like everyone would be cool, like listening to the speakers, but then there'd be like some drunk middle-aged white dude like with sunglasses on and and he'd be like going like, "Let's go to the city hall and throw rocks at the windows," and it's like, come on, bro, we know what you're doing. You're a fucking cop or a fed or whatever.
Yep.
We can like totally tell. And I mean, these things happen all the time. And you remember in the 90s they had the Million Man March?
That was like the black nationalist.
Louis Farrakhan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And see,
I don't think a million people were there, but like that could have probably been subverted.
Definitely. And I think,
but it wasn't.
Look, and this is the thing is like, I'm sure that Louis Farrakhan is an agent of someone, but like, look,
Absolutely.
in general, I agree with most of what Louis Farrakhan says. I'll even take it further. The guy who supposedly did the event in 2001. If you read that letter he wrote, the dude wasn't lying. So, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't mean that I agree with what supposedly he did, because I don't really believe he did it, but let's just assume that he did. It doesn't mean that what he said in his letter wasn't true. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, again, this is why I couldn't put my name on that line to go sign up and go fight in Afghanistan and Iraq, because I was like, I don't think that these people are my enemies. Okay. It doesn't matter. I don't think that 2,000 people dying in this event, whether it was real or false or not or whatever, I don't think that constitutes 1 million people dead over there. And now in retrospect, see, I could make a Machiavellian argument and say, well, if America didn't go and secure their trade routes and bring quote unquote democracy and Western style corruption democracy to these places, then they wouldn't have the blessings of better schools, better water, less a worse version of Eastern corruption from Russia or China involved. See, now, from that argument, I could see a good argument. But see, that's the thing is, people don't want to make those arguments. And I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna support Western rape and pillage of the world, I can make a good argument for that. I really could. And at least that's honest. I can live with that. What I can't live with is this bullshit where we're gonna sit here and say, well, we're trying to bring freedom and democracy. No, just say what it is. We're trying to basically, we're going to rape and pillage the world, but we're going to build them up, and we're going to give them Western values, or at least something like it, to make them consumers in this global thing. And in return for that, we're going to give them education, and we're going to build them up, and we're going to stop letting them have 18 kids. And, at least that's honest. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's right, but I can see the argument for it. Right. Because, and here's the reason why, and this is why I like Machine, because if you're going to have this level of technology, you have to control the population. Not like kill them off, but I'm saying, like, there has to be some level of control, because if you give everybody a nuclear reactor, bad things are going to happen, right? It's obvious, right? People can't handle it. So, and I think but here's my problem is, like, now we put a cell phone in everybody's hands, and we're not concerned, and we're letting people just go and brainwash and do bad things to the general population. And I think that's worse than just going to war. To me, it's like, maybe it's not worse. You can argue, I guess, but
like you were talking, the point you were making earlier remind me about because we both have children. Like, when my son was born, I started to look at different ways of schooling him, and I started looking into Montessori school method. You're familiar with the Montessori?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then one of the things I liked about it was their concept about screen time. Television and screen time is like, the activities they use to teach kids are like practical, like how to tie your shoes, how to cut vegetables with a knife, how to pour water in a jug, like how to farm, how to dig a hole, like practical stuff you do with your hands. And they stress that you want to have these things you do with your hands before you teach them how to read, but also too, like, definitely screen time, because when you're looking at a screen and all the images, your brain, your hands can't catch up with your brain, especially with all the way these reels go. So you're literally teaching these kids how not to be able to focus on something, and how not to stick with something.
No, definitely. Like, and see, that's the thing is like, I basically didn't really use computers other than like very, very old, like black and green screen computers until I was like 12 or 13. So like, I really didn't have this like super immersive, like, even when, okay, I played video games from like the age of like 7, 8, 9, you know, but it was like, again, we're on like an old tube television with like a coaxial cables and like you know what I mean, like 16-bit whatever Sega Genesis shit, right? So like
3D animation like nowadays.
Yeah, and it's not like you don't have that flicker rate and all this weird shit, you know what I mean? And so like again, like I'm making excuses for it, yes, but I'm saying it's like it's still like we can't just sit here and say, well, it's exactly the same. No, it is definitely very different, right? It's a very different thing. And also like at 7, 8, and 9 and you're doing motor skills, it's very different than like a 3-year-old with a fucking little iPad in their hand, like getting addicted to the thing. And here's the thing is like, and what I've realized as I get older, it's like the whole, like, I hate the whole porn argument, you know, like porn is devastating to men. Okay. I'm not saying it's not devastating, but what I'm saying is like, it's not devastating for the reason that people think it is. What the real problem is it is to your mind, it's almost indistinguishable from the real thing. Now, to you, from you consciously, it's not, but subconsciously, it is kind of thing. And here's the other side that I don't see people talking about. And this is why I hate the whole Andrew Wilson thing. And like, I hope he hears this. Like, my problem with it is that they don't talk enough about the problem of women getting constant attention. Like, that's like the most insane crack addiction to women is like getting a constant stream of attention from people, right? Like that's like the worst heroin addiction ever for women, in my opinion. And like people don't talk about that aspect of what's going on. And I think that the reason they don't talk about that is because you know, again, like I'm stealing this from Alex Jones. He said the British model of slavery or control is you control the women first, and then by doing that, men want access to women, so they'll follow the women. And that's what I see. That's what I see going on. And like, and I just see that that's why they want women in the workforce, and now men can't find jobs. That's why they want, like, you get all these stupid Google and Apple, all these jobs are fake. They don't need these women who are not as good at these jobs. Again, I'm not saying that women are dumb or anything like that. No, it's just like, I don't know if you've worked in an environment with all men versus all women. Like, I've worked in both. And like, if you have all men in a room, they'll find a way to get shit done and then have leisure time, right? When you're with women, you got to spend about 80% of the time like navigating the fucking social dynamics just to get like 1/10 of the work done. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the reality of the situation. Even just one woman in the mix with 10 guys, like the dudes start acting totally different. You know, like it's
that's
just unavoidable.
My work situation is kind of like that. Mostly men, but with a woman at the top. Well, a woman and her husband, but they're cool and all. But I see what you mean, bro.
No, again, it's not. I'm not even saying that women are incapable. Like, I've known a lot of very, very smart women. It's not about that. It's just about the fact that it's like men and women are different. And my point is like productivity is not a priority in this economy. And so, and here's the other side of it. All this technology should be giving us massive amounts of leisure time, which in a weird way it is, but you're only allowed to do certain types of leisure that's socially acceptable. So we're not out like doing like Greek sport wrestling and shit like as men, and then going and having like a girlfriend or like even like a side bitch or something. Like, at least that's like human, right? At least that's like human. But instead, you know, you go work your bullshit retail job and then you come home and you barely have enough money to like make your wife happy, and then you don't have time to go like actually work out and then spend time with guys because you don't have money to like go do other shit, and then your wife's stressed out because she's going to work, and you know what I mean? It's like it's not human focused, and that's what I see. It's like it's a really bizarre you know, social situation.
It's no thriving, just barely surviving. And that attention thing you're talking about, bro, that's the big thing. That's crack. That's crack for men, but also like in this modern age, but for women for sure, bro.
Yeah.
That does attention. So much so you see these husky brusky women, and like they're getting like thousands of followers on Instagram, and you see their comments and shit, and then even in the I'm doing a meta conversation, like this is my view, not Neurojack's, but
No, it's fine.
Like this is in the Panelverse, and I'm glad Machine brought it up on a couple, like last week on one of the episodes. He's like, I came to the stream late. He's all recapping. He's all, man, there's a lot of Asians out here trying to, bring chaos. He's all, and he even brought up, he's all, yeah, and there was a lot of simping going on, and it reminds me of some of these streams I see in the Panelverse where it's just one woman and she's just loving this attention.
Oh, I hate it,
like,
dude. I hate
soaking
it so
up,
much,
bro.
No, and like, and I've gotten a lot of hate because, like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, I'll usually leave the room when a woman or especially two women come on a panel, and again, it's not because I hate on them, but it's like it's too tempting for men to play into it. And even if they don't want to have sex with them, which usually they do, but even if they don't, it's like,
be honest,
like they don't want to be seen as whatever. And again, like it's not anti-women. It's just like again, I'm not full on Muslim. Like women should cover their whole face if they're married or something. Like I'm not saying like I can see a good argument for it. Say again, sorry.
You're not supposed to socially mix too. That's the big thing with Muslims.
Yeah, and I think if you do.
Being like men and women aren't supposed to socialize, really.
Well, I think that there's a place for it in a way. Like I could, like, I'm not like I have very complex opinions on it. Like I don't even want to say most of them because people are going to take it way out of context. Like I can see an argument for many different lifestyles. Even like I'm not going to say promiscuity is good, but like I can see a good argument for it for certain people in certain situations. Like I get it. Like, and I think it's some of it's from the red pill thing where like, I can see the argument, like, okay, like how hard is it to find a wife? It's hard. So should you just stay celibate when you're dating 100 women to find that one woman? I don't think that's realistic. So like, I don't like that advice for most people. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of this weird, I had this kind of weird, like, it's hard for me to say because I think you can't really put a thing on it because again, we're not living like in 1700s America right now. We're living in like 2024 with like, planes and, alcohol and like just a very difficult situation to like find a mate in. So it's like, I don't know,
some of these women, like when I hear them talk on the whatever panel or not Fresh and Fit because they barely even talk to women, but the whatever panel, like where, and it's like, bro, actually, she has a point. We are living in a social media age.
No,
I'm not saying I want to wipe them up, but she's right in a lot of ways, right?
No, dude, this is why. Like, I honestly, I didn't like. I was watching Andrew Wilson when he was a very small channel, okay, because I was watching Jim Bob, and Jim Bob came from Owen Benjamin, and Owen Benjamin came from like Alex Jones and these guys. So like, I kind of followed a long line, and actually, like, if you take it all the way back, Alex Jones was the first person that really like not woke me up. It more like he just kind of confirmed what I already knew.
He's my favorite of all time.
Yeah, and like I respect him, but I think he's been totally subverted, or he always was subverting. But I can still respect him because like I still think that he told so much truth that he gave you the blueprints. If you want to understand what's going on, I listened to him for more than 10 years, so like I understand a lot of shit because of him. But here's the thing is, I also didn't take everything he said at face value. I sat back and observed and I listened to what he said, right? And I understood that sometimes you say things for a higher level audience and sometimes you say things for a lower level audience. And I listened when he was saying the higher level stuff and I absorbed it, right? And so, a lot of my way of talking is actually coming from Alex Jones. Like, I'm happy to admit that because like I understand.
And a lot of the people won't, bro.
Doing,
A lot of our friends, they forget the fact that he red pilled a lot of us. Yeah, and they talk shit. I don't say you have to like listen to him still, but come on, bro, you wouldn't know half the shit if it wasn't for Alex Jones.
No, for real, and that's the thing is like you got to give him respect because even if he's the worst person, even if he's Hitler, let's say he's Hitler, okay, let's just say that. Still, he's not a dumb person. Okay, he's not a retard. He's very, very, very smart. The dude is probably one of the smartest people ever to be in media, in my opinion. Like he's very, very intelligent guy. I mean, super high intelligence.
Media, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's basically like he's like the real Howard Stern, in my opinion. He's like a master of theatrical. I mean, especially like in the mid 2000s. I mean, dude, he did some crazy like sketch comedy. Like it was like very funny shit.
Joker.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I watched all that. Like, and one of my favorites, he did this magic wand. He's like, oh, magic wand never happened. Oh, magic wand. You know, it's like, I love that shit. It's like, he did some very funny shit. And anyways, but my point of bringing all this up is like, so it was like him, then Stefan Molyneux, and then and then like and then the alt-right, and then right after alt-right blew up, you know, like not all the alt-right, it was just like, I don't know if you know who Christopher Cantwell is, but I watched a lot of Christopher Cantwell because he was a comedian. So Adam Kokesh, you know who that is, right?
Yeah, I know who that is.
Okay, so Adam Kokesh used to do this show from his house, and Christopher Cantwell was like a dude who was just like a troll. He was like a real life troll who joined the New Hampshire Free State Project, and so he would go around harassing cops. And I don't want to say he invented cop watching, but he was one of the early pioneers of cop watching. So he would go around and harass cops and be like, "You're violating my rights," or, you know, he was like one of these guys. And Stephen Colbert put him on Stephen Colbert because he was so like, he got so infamous for doing this shit, right? So anyways, he hooked up with Adam Kokesh, and they did this show out of their house. And then after Adam Kokesh got raided, Christopher Cantwell started doing his own broadcast, and it was mostly like just joking around and shit. But then I watched live on air as these people came on and radicalized him into the alt-right, you know, by using like these arguments like, you know, and IQ and, you know, all these like racial things or whatever, right? And again, it was mostly like, it was like satire and like some racial, like actual racist stuff, but it was like 90% satire. You know what I'm saying? And like, so people didn't understand. It's like Colbert Report when Colbert is basically like being I thought Colbert was like a real Republican for many years, like until he finally.
You did? That's interesting.
Well, when I was young, when he started doing his stuff, I'm 10 years younger than you. So when he first started, like, I thought he was trolling both sides equally. So I thought he was just like I thought Jon Stewart was playing the left side and he was playing the right side, but they were both equally like
both left. Yeah, it was like Colbert is like a Democrat, a liberal doing an impression of a conservative.
Right. Well, what I thought, but I think what the reason why though, in retrospect, is because his writers were so good at jokes that they made it very hard to detect, like that it wasn't all leading you a certain place. And this is why I'm saying that for a reason, because if you take a look at Colbert's early shows, right, the way that they disarm you with comedy is what I saw happen in the alt-right. So what they did is they came in as a comedic, oh, this is funny, ha ha ha, ovens, you know, Mean Mr. Mustache, you know, they make a joke out of it first, and then they say, oh, you know what would be a good idea? Let's go to to that statue thing, right? And let's go do the statue thing, not realizing that the very people who set that up also said, hey, communists, you want to come and like get in a fight with a bunch of Nazis? Oh yeah, great idea. Yeah. See, so now they have the evidence to say, look at these violent Nazis, because most of the people going there didn't think, oh, we're going to go and you know, get into a legal proceeding that's going to take 10 years, right? They went there thinking we're going to say Jews won't replace us in our own country, because they believed at the time the Jews are trying to replace them. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but there is a United Nations documentation that says, you know, basically we're going to flood the West with and Japan and Taiwan, or I think it is, with a bunch of migrants, right? So whether it's true who is behind it or not, there is certain documentation that's basically public knowledge, right? Like there are people that want to clash cultures together for some reason, right? So anyways, my point in saying is like, they use comedy to disarm you. And then after you're disarmed with laughing about it, then they say, oh, you know, now that we have your trust and we made you laugh. And again, to me, this is what I was trying to do with the whole, like, when I first met Andrew Wilson, I was like, look, the red pill people have a point. If you want to go on a date with a woman and you can make her laugh, that's a good indication that you're going somewhere with it, right? You know what I mean? Right. Like,
Right.
Like, I'm sure that you wouldn't be married to your wife if you guys couldn't laugh every once in a while. Like, that's just, you're not going to work very long without that, right? So
yeah, that's a big part of a relationship, right?
Yeah.
The only thing you got to be mindful is don't get too far into self-deprecating humor.
Oh yeah, no, I
How these
totally
guys
agree.
do that, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You're right.
And-
Humor's big though.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like the self-deprecating humor is one of the worst mistakes I've seen men ever make. I think that's
Mhm.
like, if you start doing that, especially way too early on
Mhm.
for the wrong reasons, like you're
a joke to her.
Yeah, you made
Literally.
a joke out of her. You make a joke out of yourself
Right.
with her before you even had a chance, and that's the problem I see a lot of people make. But this is also the thing I see happening with the alt-right is they
Mhm.
started off with the regular humor, built your confidence, and then they started doing the self-deprecating humor, and then they got you to, and that's what I saw happen. They basically built these people up, these young white people. And again, they've done this to black people. They've done this to everybody. This is not like unique, but I'm saying like I just see this as a big example of like if the white Anglo-Saxon people will do this to their own people in their own country, what do you think they'll do to the rest of the world? See what I'm saying? And why do you think they're doing that to their own country? See, that's what I'm trying to get. That's the point I'm trying to get at. Is like if they're willing to subvert. If it's really white people in charge in this country, why are they doing this to their own people? That's the question I'm trying to ask. And if they're willing to do that to their own people, to their own country, to their own culture, why are they doing that? And what do you think they're willing to do for the rest of the world? And again, this is why like I'm kind of an alarmist, I guess you'd say, is like there must be some sort of overarching intention behind all this, and I can't think of a good reason why this would happen, unless it's just to keep power. But at a certain point you have to think like, what is the purpose, right? So
certain people keep the power, right? Because it's not money's part of it, yes, but
I don't think I think the money thing's overplayed. I think it's the power. It's got to be the power.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, power. It's like I don't know, you remember who Lux Maximus was?
It sounds familiar, but no.
He basically he was a satire of a mogger, right? He was this buff guy that took steroids. He even wore a wig sometimes, a hairpiece, and he would talk about like make these very creative, artistic critiques, and he like basically video essays where he was reading it, talking about like how Roman archaic society, and he would talk about like how we would benefit more from a not a gynocentric. What's the opposite of gynocentric?
Male-centric, yeah.
Male-centric society, and he would use examples from the Roman times, and anyway, it was funny. But then when you go into he had a private Telegram group, and when you go in there, it kind of was like these, like kind of like he wasn't American, but like he's Canadian, but mostly like alt-right, white nationalist type thinking mixed with manosphere, red pill, black pill tenets. Yeah. And it was funny. And he was very strict in his rules about what you could talk about. I mean, but what you could talk about, right? And how you could say it, because he was a writer. So you had to express yourself, right, with your written word. So one of the things you couldn't do is, he said, any political argument saying that it's not that the Jews aren't behind it, like we will not, you'll be erased.
This is why I never got deep into the white nationalist thing, is because like I kept saying like, look, you can sit there and say it's the Jews all day long, but if you don't handle the fact
he's
that
Jewish too, I'm gonna find out. It's funny.
Well, that's the other side of it. And again, I'm not one of these people that says, oh, I hate all Jews. I think that there's a very small amount of these people who claim that they're Jews, whatever the truth of that is beside the point. But they're very aware of this kind of thing that we're talking about, which is theatrical production to manufacture consent.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is what Noam Chomsky talked about. And this is not like some like radical fringe theory. This is Noam Chomsky, right?
Yeah.
It's like you use language as a weapon and you get people to think that it's their idea when it's not. I mean, it's very basic level shit. I mean,
that's why we take out the Jewish part of it, his rule, and you just say any discussion about how these these presidents aren't puppets, it's kind of like pointless, you know, because we can talk about election.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because is there something that they're worth that we should be aware of the fact or worried about, that if certain people are president? You know what I mean?
I mean,
it don't mean anything if they're just figureheads. But is that the case, really?
See, here's the thing I'll say. I think I have mixed feelings just because I don't know. Like, I'll just give you my impression since I was a kid. Like, I think 100%. Let me just put it this way. I think I'll just give you a very brief comprehension of like the evolution of this. I think that if you go back to, I'll just keep it modern. If you go back to the Vietnam War, right? I think JFK was a piece of shit, but he probably didn't want to go to war to Vietnam. And he probably didn't want to do a lot of other things. And he was probably so compromised that they just couldn't make a deal with him. So whatever reason, they had to get rid of him. And then if you look at Lyndon B. Johnson, I think that he was probably an asshole piece of shit too. But I think that he also he probably thought he was doing the right Machiavellian thing at the time. And I think after that, I think Nixon was probably the last like real president who probably had his own idea. And then I think Gerald Ford, probably CIA. I think, who's that peanut guy?
Carter.
Carter. I think he's like probably the Biden of his days. You know, he didn't know what's going on really.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a piece of shit, but probably just didn't know what's going on. And then I think
Reagan, total puppet.
I think Reagan was like, I think he was MK Ultra personally. Like, I think he was hypnotized. I think he got into like some weird occult shit or something.
Well.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's cool. Like, he's funny. Like, I liked his speeches about like aliens and shit. Like, I think that's all like kind of cool, but I don't think he was like, I think the imagery of someone like that is so interesting. It's like captivating. Like, he's a cowboy guy. I never watched his movies, but he's a cowboy actor. He's a governor of California, which again, people think of as like, oh, it's always been leftist. Like, it was a very conservative.
The OC though, huh? The OC, very conservative.
Yep. And I think that, and like, if you look at California, I think California is a really interesting place because like, the truth is like, I think that California, I'll put it this way. I'm a white dude from the South. I'm scared of white people in California. Like, they intimidate me because they're kind of serious. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're way more like,
I tell you this, the history of California, bro. Northern California is very, very much related to the South. So much so, even here in the Hank Williams Jr. song, Country Boy Can't Survive, he's giving a shout out to Northern California people, bro. It used to be all orchards up there, bro. Farms for days.
I believe it.
They just build the computer companies over that rich topsoil. That used to be like fucking fruit trees and everything, bro.
Right. I believe it. No, I definitely believe it. And I think the whites and the Mexicans, honestly, they probably got along pretty well, to be real with you. I think that they probably had like a nice understanding between them, and you know, it was probably corrupt. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it wasn't good old boy redneck shit, but I'm sure they had some sort of understanding, right? And that's the impression that I've had since I've been here, which I've been here a long time. And but here's the thing: is like, I'm trying to think of the right way to explain it. But so, anyways, Reagan, whatever, right? And then you have after that, you had Bush, and I think Bush is like deep state. He's probably the one who had JFK taken out. I can't prove that, but I think he's likely one of those type of people. And I think he groomed Clinton, and I think Clinton is one of these guys who was probably a good old boy cocaine dealer or whatever he did back in the day.
Mafia.
Yep. And look, you know, again, like, as someone from the South, I don't think it's good what he was or what he did. He's probably a bad guy, but I can also say, like, there's a lot of dumb people in the South, and it's just like anywhere else. Like, you've got to kind of pick your poison. You're either going to have a dumb mafia boss who needs to control these people, or you're and this is the thing about America that people don't want to admit to, is like America's always had mafias, all right? It's always
Gangsters.
been that way. Yep.
Just like
And-
Taiwan, actually, to be frank.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's always going to be that black underbelly of society. And again, I think we should try to minimize it as much as possible. I really do. But I just don't think that it's realistic to say that it's not going to be there. And I think that it's also unrealistic to think that they're not going to get in a position of power. I think what happened to Clinton is he got in over his head. Really, I think he probably was a bad guy, but I think he actually meant well. That's my impression of him.
I think
And
too.
he has some sexual, deviancy, which obviously, but I think also at the same time, like, if you're someone who has a will that you want to do something good, and you have all this stress on you, and you're also like with someone like Hillary Clinton, who's actually power hungry, and you're kind of stuck in that situation, like, I think that's a very stressful situation. So I'm not excusing what he did, but what I'm saying is, like, I see him as someone who's kind of a tragic figure, because I think during my impression in the 90s is people in the 90s wanted to get behind America. They wanted to see America succeed, especially in California. But like everyone I talked to from here in the 90s, they said California was like booming. Everybody had money. There was tension, but people, like, they got around it, right? Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But my feeling in the 90s was like, this is the end of the empire, right? And I felt like everybody was like partying it up, trying to enjoy. But I think, that's when the decision was made. Like, these people are gonna, we got them. We can control these people. That's what I think. I think the 90s was like the last, real America. I don't think America's really existed since then. And I think Bush, I think a lot of people look at Bush as like an idiot, which maybe it's true. I kind of have sympathy for him as a person. I think he is another guy who was just like a front guy, and he probably just thought he was doing the right thing, more or less. But I think the deep state just totally ran his administration.
Yep.
And then same thing and I think Obama, see, look, everybody says Obama was this or that. I mean, my thing with Obama is I think he was a lot more honest than what people want to give him credit for. I think he told everybody exactly what he is, exactly what he was doing, and people just didn't want to hear it. I think he was a CIA actor, and that's what he was. And I don't think he hit it. That's the thing, is I think people, they want to like make excuses. But
you notice he's the one he hasn't even given an endorsement yet to Kamala Harris publicly yet.
Yeah, and I think that, I'll be honest, I don't like Obama as a person. I hate pretty much everything he stands for, but I respect him. I think he's a gangster for real. I think he's basically I think he's a real motherfucker. I think he's a dude that probably wouldn't mind having people whacked if he had the power. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he's funny, man. He's like, he actually,
him and Trump are the most entertaining. If it is a stage, Masonic Sorcerer Theater, that's what I call it. They're definitely the top performers. We have somebody in the comments. They're going off. Canucksum, you know that person?
Yeah,
they're
he's cool.
about.
He knows
good points here.
He knows a lot of shit. I mean,
you saying about Hunter Biden before Hunter Biden was Hunter Biden? What?
We have a lot of tension because, like, I'm kind of stuck on a few different theories. I don't know, but he's a little older than me. He's done a lot of research. I'm totally open-minded. I think that probably a lot of people like you and I know, like Machine.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of you guys know a lot more than me. I'm just trying to piece together my experiences, basically. So
that's why you're gonna run for us. You're gonna run on our platform. You'll be the head.
I should have mentioned, dude. No, I should have mentioned, like,
you gonna run?
When I was a kid, I thought Clinton was a hero, man. He made me want to be president. That's how I felt about Clinton. I was like,
that boy from the South.
Well, he was just like he was just a nice, jovial kind of guy.
The first person I was able to vote for.
He had swagger. He's a black Scotsman.
He's a black guy with the saxophone.
Yeah, dude. He had swag. He had swag.
He said check out who Clinton's father is. I don't know. I heard that he fathered many people, but I don't know. Then that's kind of weird
I've
shit.
heard the theory, but I can't remember who it was. But
Well, he brought up a Canucksum. He brought up the fact that Reagan's wife was an astrologer.
oh
I mean,
yeah,
she-
for sure.
Astrologers
Yeah.
like Oprah,
that's
right?
kind of what I was referring to. I think that whatever she was involved in, and look, this is also the true of Abraham Lincoln. People don't like to talk about it, but Abraham
What did
Lincoln.
Mary? What was she into? Seances and stuff like that.
Yep.
Spiritualism.
Spiritualism, that's
Ah.
right. And I think that was a big
Big
I
back
think
then.
that's a big part of American history that nobody taught. And that's why I'm saying, like, people look at the Civil War like it's just some like racial slavery thing. And there was a lot of weird theological, philosophical shit going on underneath the surface. This is what I'm saying. It's like people don't know their history and they just talk out of their ass. Oh, they just killed each other for the slaves. It's like, look, I'm not saying that it wasn't important, but it's a lot deeper than that. People don't just go and like slaughter each other over economics purely. I mean, very rarely is that going to happen. You know what I mean? So,
Well, Canucksum, he brings up a good point. Something my last little clip was about. I was talking to Machine about New Ageism and Islam, like about. He said something. What did he say? Of course, now it won't show because my computer's running low. He's basically it sounded like he was trying the point that New Ageism is being used as a psyop. I think, but even though people are really into it for sure, and they swear by it, but it seems to be being pushed down the mainstream's throat nowadays.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. I mean, this is something every point we bring up, I could go on for like 2 or 3 hours on because like it depends on how accurate you want to be and like how you're going to use the information. Because it's like, to me, it's like, I just look at the general like state of women. They have a baby crack phone in their hand, making them crack addict to attention. Then they have this whole like new age, like I'm a boss bitch. I have angel numbers. I do yoga.
How do you love? What do they say your love language? You heard that one?
Some shit. I mean, I haven't really been around a lot of like super young people in a while, but like
I hear it online.
Yeah, but I'm sure but like my general impression, at least here in Cali, but also like the whole country is like this. I drove across country like a couple of years ago during COVID, and like I saw the country, like I saw Middle America, and I was like, it's the same shit everywhere. Like it's just the same shit everywhere. It's like everywhere is the same. It's like people have a bunch of tattoos. They look like they probably do pills on the weekend, and it's like it's just like, to me it's disgusting. Like I hate pills. I hate
They're
drugs.
bisexual. Every woman's can't just be straight.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole. And again, like I don't know how deep you want to go into each subject, but like I think that I don't know about the new. I think the new age is important. I think that it is a big thing, but I think
that's
it's
a big
been
part of
going
my
on.
channel actually. I mean, I like some of those things, However, I don't put it over, the Most High or whatchamacallit, or even just my critical thinking, even too. But I do believe it has a place. It can give you some empowerment.
I have mixed feelings on it. Like, and again, this is like this is why like I struggle with it, because like I think the weird right wing is like overreacting in a weird way because they're reacting to the wrong part of it, right? Like if you're really a new ager, quote unquote, you should be into like tantric sex and like get married and have a bunch of kids. Like that's new age to me. But then this new version is like
more like
just stay single and be or the new version is like, let's stay single, or let's be gay, or let's be trans, or it's like totally subverted like what I thought the new age was about. Like at least if you're doing yoga and you're sweating and you're like being a human,
sex.
like
it's practicing for sex. It's supposed to for procreation.
Right.
Ishtar,
Exactly.
the goddess
like,
of having a lot of kids. Spring.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying, like, I'm sure that if any of the people who hate me see this, they're going to clip it up and say, "Oh, look, he's saying, new age sex cults are good." I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, like, at least I can comprehend like the allure of it, right? Like I can see like the value in it, right? But what I'm saying is, like, obviously this is a much older project. I think that, that's what I'm saying about Abraham Lincoln, right? Like, was Abraham Lincoln doing sex orgies? Maybe. I mean, probably. I mean, and certainly, like, what's that dude's name on the $100 bill? Franklin.
Freak.
Yeah, he was a freak, man. Yeah, and so like, so what I'm saying is, this is a
However, though,
much.
he has a lot of good in terms of like developing yourself. He has a lot of good tenets right there.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
that's the
what
thing
that
is,
part-
I think this whole new age thing is very old. It's been going on a long time, man. At least a couple
Yeah, no,
hundred
New Age is
years.
the old age, recycled, right?
Yeah, it's the same
New
old
Age is
shit.
old stuff.
And I think that what we're seeing now is like a whole like McDonald's version of it that's been like used as a weapon to like bludgeon people in the head and like make them
Mhm.
infertile. And I think that that's like at least a fertility cult I'm cool with. Like a death cult I'm not cool with, right? Like, you know, like that's a problem. So
No death codes here. I think our friend Canuckson, I brought him up. Let's see if it makes him help go up. Internet's running kind of slow, so bear with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening, gentlemen.
He's coming up. Oh, speaking of that, you've heard of the Cumtown guys and then Red Scare podcast?
Oh, he dropped off.
Sure.
Yeah, I have heard of him. I've heard of it. I've only seen one of the Cumtown guys. I hate saying that name, but he's been on he was on Steve O and he was like trolling Steve O, and like I didn't really get it, but like I hate Steve O, so I like that. So
Well, they were a response to because when they talk about politics, there's a name for it, like liberal. We were talking about how the alt-right they use comedy. They were kind of like a response, and then their girlfriends have a famous podcast called Red Scare podcast, which talks about like socialism and like that Sex in the City type stuff.
Yeah,
there's another one called El Chapo's Trap House. Well, they're talking about like edgy, somewhat traditional stuff sometimes, but it's always when they talk about politics, they play their hand, let you know who they're for.
yeah, I'm not surprised. Unfortunately, like I mean, I think here's the thing about comedy is like I think comedy is a weapon. It's been totally weaponized, and it's like I follow a lot of comedy for a long time, and like it's always been subverted, but it's gotten very specialized in the subversion realm now. I think it's like the reason why the whole stand-up comedy thing has blown up is because it's probably the deep state. Like that's my opinion, but I don't know.
Hold on one second, Canucks. Let me reset this. It's stuck right now. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to reset this, refresh this page, so I can bring you up.
Just as long as it's not fresh and fit.
Oh, see, I like that name, Fresh and Fit. I never watched the show until the past like 6 months, and I'm like, dude, this is like, it's the gayest red pill shit I've ever seen in my life.
Never watched Fresh and Fit.
Unless you actually want to reduce your IQ, I mean, willfully do that, don't watch their show.
1 sec.
Oh shit, here I am. Wow, give me your coins, your Bitcoins, your gold coins, your all those things.
You guys hear me?
Can hear you, yeah. That looks like a space grabbler there, Neuro. Did you ever see that Onion commercial about grabblers?
Well, I know Grabblers is Owen Benjamin's thing, but I was assured that it had nothing about anti-Semitism in it, because if that's the case, I would definitely wouldn't use it. So,
right.
And nice to have you, Canucksa. How do you pronounce
Canucksa. Just call me John. It's an old online name I used.
But I will
nice
say,
to meet you. I'm Gabriel.
Hello, Gabriel.
I will say
Thanks for
that
your comments.
if Biden had that little mustache, I'd vote for him. But go ahead, sir.
The Fior, huh?
Alt
Is
Hitler.
he dead or what, John? Neurojack, is he? Because that's what the little rumors are. Or he's dying right now.
I don't watch the news anymore. I just kind of like see the memes and kind of guess. So, like, as far as I know, no, but I don't know. Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think so. There's so much ink in the water now that needlessly publicly speculating about all of the shit they throw at the wall for us to waste our time on really only kind of damages your reputation, and it also damages yourself, because you're going to beat yourself up about, oh, I was wrong about this and wrong about, and then it's demoralizing. So unless you have a genuine reason and a genuine instinctive reaction to a piece of news, you can safely assume it's just noise.
Yeah. What do you think we should focus on? What do you choose to focus on then?
That's a
With all
big
this
question.
crazy
That's a
shit?
big question. You'd have to ask a far more focused question for me to offer a meaningful answer.
He's focused on retiring in Asia and finding a lady on a farm, and I'm just joking.
Oh,
okay.
Well, wouldn't that be nice? My goodness.
That's my dream too, but don't tell anybody.
A farm, huh? Yeah. No. Okay. So. What can we get out this this election? If there's anything to take from it.
What can we get out of it? We can probably
Yeah.
get out of it not too much in the way of anal tearing, but it's going in there.
Call the police. Yeah. That type of hardcore stuff.
Yeah, I don't believe many of the elections in the West are fundamentally legitimate anymore, regardless of which party is winning the theatrical spotlight. It's like wrestling from back in the 80s. We're nowhere near the point, as a lot of people are talking about violent revolution and taking things up, because we haven't done what really needs to be done, which is change in response to the predators feasting upon us. Human culture is, it can be likened to an ecosystem where you have predator and prey animals and a few hybrids in between. And over time, if there's overpredation, the predators are going to starve themselves out from lack of food or whatever else. And if they prey on some of the wrong animals or maybe a little unlucky, their animals slowly change in response to them. Right now, we're out of disequilibrium with that. We in the West have inherited, multiple generations of the slack of civic vigilance that I wish our ancestors had had. And it's up to us to choose whether to, ape out and throw shit everywhere and burn everything down, which we're almost certainly going to lose, or to maintain some kind of furtherance of civilized, principled, moral behavior. And I don't mean to imply any one particular religion on earth. They're all equally true as much as they're all equally untrue. It's a complicated aspect. There's no one is above God, and whatever you mean by God doesn't matter if it's a dude in the sky, or if it's just an uncreated iteration of nature, or if it's just the ultimate limiting principle. Whatever the God of your understanding is, no human is above God. And these ortho-bro Christian nationalists are dangerous because they are the Christian version of ISIS, right? They are a nascent ISIS-like movement. They will eat your liberty alive.
Did that come about like in the 80s with the evangelical movement in the politics, or was it before that?
It's older than the existence of writing.
Hmm.
It didn't come about anytime recently. It's as old as the human mind is as old, if you think about it. I don't mean that in an arrogant way. Like if you think about things you may not have otherwise or been prodded to think about. Right.
Well, you brought up the word parasite, and then you're talking about as old as the human mind. Now I'm getting into Carlos Castaneda, thinking about mind parasites and the friar mind. I don't know if you're familiar with that. About the voice in your head. That's
Well,
not your voice.
Yeah, I would look into, if you got a pen and paper handy, write the name Julian Jaynes down. I'll put a note up here in the back. And he wrote something called
Carrying Mind.
Yeah, the origin of
Yeah,
consciousness and the breakdown of the bicameral mind. Okay, Jaynes.
Yeah.
I can't say with any authority whether that's true or not, or whether you should lend it credence or not, but I think it's an important data point that should be synthesized with what you already know and trust, and have duly reflected upon to shit test it for veracity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And the New Age stuff is extremely old. It predates not only the creation of writing, but probably it predates any of the civilizations we recognize as our precursor civilizations. Astrotheology, that underlies so very much of every mythopoetic structure on Earth. That and solar worship. They're inextricably linked.
Until we get into the mystery called Babylon religion, as Bill Cooper would say.
Yeah, I'm a very late comer to the appreciation of Cooper's work. He was a flawed man, but he was an honest man from what I can tell. And he cautioned people, pardon me, I got a bit of a frog in my throat. He cautioned people to always do their own research and to do their own diligent verification. And that's an urgent thing.
So, if you don't mind, I want to ask a question. If you believe that's true, then why shouldn't we just adopt astrotheology and use it against our enemies?
Forgive me, Neuro, but
or do you
I
think it's
literally don't understand your question.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. So, like, if they've controlled the world via astrotheology,
They don't control the world through astrotheology. That isn't what I said.
Okay, I understand. Don't take it out of proportion.
Okay.
So you're implying that it's older than written language, and that it's basically the system that the world has run. I mean, the leadership has run, or what?
No,
what's
that's
the
not
argument
what I'm
here?
suggesting.
Okay, so help me understand what you're suggesting.
I am making a very general statement that I'm not a sociologist. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a slightly above average red normie. But take advertising in the West, right? You probably have some appreciation, far greater than the average person's, at how much that hooks into our deep and fundamental psychology. And that psychology, once you learn how to stimulate responses out of it, human beings as pattern seeking and pattern recognizing wunderkind, right? We're geniuses at pattern detection. How long do you think it was before the first human beings started manipulating one another? And then those first human beings huddled together in their caves, right? Not reliably being able to make fire, and thus needing the heat and light and safety of the sun from night's predators. How long would it take for most of them, for tens and tens and tens of thousands of years, to recognize that the sun was supreme? I mean, it's easy for us to accept the Ooga Booga Islanders sacrificing virgins to the great Moga Moga volcano. I mean, but honestly, unless you have the language and worldview and self-discipline to be rational in your application of filtering mechanisms and and how you take in the data of the world, it's easy to make simple correlations and other your power onto those symbolic representations of that which is mightier than you. It shouldn't be a stretch to realize that then the sun was the first major source of othering, and outsourcing safety and fear and authority, because it literally did provide protection from predation, provided energy, it feeds everything on the planet. So that's an old element of just life on Earth, not just human beings. So once you venerate the sun, you then, of course, look into the rest of the sky and you see all of these lights and there are patterns. You look at clouds, you can see shit. You look at stars, they saw shit. You tell stories. I mean, whether the first people with language sitting around the campfire, were just entertaining their kids so they'd finally shut up. So after a day of hunting, you could just get a good night's sleep and go, mate with one of your wives. Like whatever language and mythology we developed was kind of like a psychic healing, right? A mental and emotional healing, and language probably drove that. You observe the sun, you observe other patterns in the sky, you observe the movements of the sun, right? Then you begin marking over maybe meaning to patterns, because the old guy who couldn't hunt anymore and didn't want to get left at the edge of the woods somehow had a little bit of extra knowledge and could heal you, or he could realize patterns before you. It's as old as human beings. Now, it doesn't mean it's a magic way to invoke control. No. It's like the original hack into the human operating system.
Right. So just to take it back to my question. So here's what I'm trying to say. If there is a way to actually hack into the human system and our enemies are using it, why can't we use it for good? Or is that not
Well,
possible?
it's not just that there's one way. It's a way to hack into other people. That's what language partly is. So once you are able to master language, you can then, it's like using simple tools to create more complex tools to build the really big tools you need. Right? We've gone from building pyramids, God knows how, 5 to 10 or 20,000 years ago. I have no idea how old they really are, to losing a lot of that iteration of our technology, whatever they did, to now, 5,000 years later, being able to actually launch vehicles up to the moon or into orbit or satellites. So language works the same way, but in terms of the technology of culture, if you can think of technology in that abstract way. So there's more than one way to hack ourselves. There's more than one way to interact with the algorithms society operates on.
But here's what I'm trying to get at, I guess. And like, this is not against you. This is not personal or anything. I'm just trying to. I'm thought experimenting. If given that that's the case, why are the elites bad? I mean, if you want to make a lunar omelet, you're gonna have to break some human eggs and get that shit up there, right? If that's the goal, allegedly.
No one said they're bad, but you've got to frame a lot in your own conception of the world and what morality means. Do you want someone, for example, like Dexter? You know the TV show Dexter? He was a principled sociopath. He only fed or murdered criminals, right? Mm-hmm. So he had these urges. He was what he was. He was a predator. But because maybe some feedback mechanism allowed his type of predator to recognize, in order for me to continue into the future, in order for what I am to be, and why wouldn't I want to be what I am? I am what I. They don't have that wiring like we do. They're wired differently. They accept what they are. Some of them are healthy predators. They don't overfeed or overabuse their prey. Others are unhealthy predators, right? We, the prey, if you want to think about it that way, or we're the herbivores, or we're not the tigers, as it were. We have different mechanisms to defend ourselves against our own predators, right? On this planet, human beings don't have any natural predators anymore. Sure, a shark can eat you, a tiger can get you, baboons could rip you to pieces, but they don't come looking for us, right? We go looking for them. So who then is our limiter? Who in the ecology of human beings? Where are our natural predators? It's other iterations of us, and we exist in that kind of ecosystem. Astrotheology, insofar as a socio-religious hack can work, is a strong version of that particular type of hack into the human socio-cultural technological ecosphere. It's not the only hack.
Yeah, I have to say, like, me throughout the years studying astrology or astrotheology, and just knowing the simple what the meaning behind what the planets represent, the transits and the elements, it did give me another language to kind of communicate with other people, even if they didn't know it. Because, for example, if somebody at least for my mental template, it helps. If I was dealing with somebody at work, for example, and I really couldn't wrap my brain around why they do the things they do, some of the things, especially the more annoying things to me. Sometimes once I found out later on, like what their sun sign was or their moon sign, it would actually make me kind of like more empathetic to their situation in life. And
well, yeah, what you're doing is mapping templates and Jungian style archetypes, kind of Lego block like, because they're useful. They serve a purpose in your life. And Neuro, to more pointedly answer your question, there's no reason you can't be an agent and an active component or an active agent in that process. Are you going to be a human hacker? Are you going to hack social algorithms? Are you going to do it on a personal time scale like a Napoleon, or a civilizational time scale like the Benedictine monks preserving literacy and learning and food preservation techniques and whatever else? So how you contribute to that depends on your awareness of it, your ability to expend and risk energy and time and attention, all of those variables. It's not a question of whether or not you should be a hacker. It's more a question of what kind of hacker are you going to be? Are you going to be a white hat hacker, a black hat hacker? You're going to be a terroristic hacker? Are you going to be a multi-generational hacker? It's not a question of whether you're going to do it. Simply by living in a society, you are part of the feedback process. Do you want to be an active or passive component in that mechanism? Who knows? Depends at different stages of your life. So no, it's not inherently bad. But you can identify the threat of the Christian nationalists. We don't want their kind of theocracy. Their kind of theocracy sucks. We want our kind of theocracy. For a limited time only, you can get ... Anyone with two eyes and a working brain sees through the nonsense. Both of you do.
Yeah. But it's like this week has been eye-opening to me because I've always heard, especially coming from California, like this pushback on the Christian conservatives and as Bible thumpers and like crazy out of their mind. However, this week, talking to you two and as well as some other people on the other panels have really opened my eyes to the fact that you can actually break that down even further to what that virus that they have is really at its core, and not just like dismiss them as just crazy people, but like what is actually going on right there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the weird, and again, like this is not personal with Canuck, but he and I know each other a little bit, so I can kind of use this as an example.
Feel free, Jack. I respect you. Speak freely, please.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that up front because like it's going to sound contentious, but how I do it. So I'm just trying to make the point. So like, let's assume, for instance, that we have to make the choice between. Like, look, I think it's obvious that whatever the American way of life is kind of going away, at least. And me and Gabriel were talking about this before, which is that at least because the demographics of the United States and the West is inevitably going to change quite significantly. I don't think there's any way around that. So given that, if you had to choose between a white, not a white, but a quote unquote Christian nationalist theocracy or a Islamic theocracy, you are probably going to choose the Christian one just because it's more something you're familiar with or status quo to you. And you don't see as big of a threat.
Of course.
Right? So,
hands down from your point of view and mine, hands down, because me standing outside of both of those things, right? I reject theocracy in any form, but I know enough about the history, the sociology, and the development of those two religio-political worldviews to utterly and instinctively reject anything Islamic, because in Islam, there is no attempt made to fundamentally divorce the authority of church from state. In fact, quite the opposite. Church and state are one and the same because of the epistemology of the religion, the way they value truth and knowledge. It all flows from God. In the West, we've had times like that. We have rejected times like that, gone back to times like that, and currently in the West, with our roots in Greece and the Levant and Egypt and then through the Renaissance and the whole European experience, we've now come to a point for very complicated factors where we have civilizational values that for the first time in human history, I shouldn't say for the first time, but for that resulted in a very tasty blend of maximizing human liberty while also encouraging economic development, social development, rational, principled scientific pursuit. We were lucky to hit a good balance in balancing the incentive structures of the church, of the plebs and regular people, of the predatory capitalist style, folk among us, and the old aristocracy, the entrenched multi-generational kind of dynastic power. There was a balance between those four metrics that kind of got achieved in the West. And I happen to like that recipe because I can look at history. I know enough history to see times when they were not balanced that well. And we can look at the record of horrors that unfolded from that.
Well, let me put it this. Let me ask you like this then. I mean, like, do you think that these social predators that are running the current economic system, do you think it's more likely that they're going to allow Islam to take over, or do you think it's more likely that they're going to use the scientific dictatorship to suppress humanity in every way they possibly can to get whatever their goal is, which is probably transhumanists, live a couple hundred years for the rich, and everybody else can fuck off and die? I mean, which one do you think is more likely to happen?
I don't think the Islamists are going to win simply because they're outmatched in terms of technological scale and access to technology, although I'm not as confident about that as I might seem. I honestly don't know. Your question is kind of very totalitarian and assumes or has baked into it the idea that these, I'll just call them the transhumanists or the global oligarchs. Your question assumes that they are highly in accord with one another rather than being like a mad alliance of, privateering corporations with vested interests like any mob structure. And they'll as easily turn on each other as work with each other. I think that's more true than approaching the idea of some kind of James Bond-esque, highly unified, top-down, fully integrated, evil dictator control system. People simplify that and don't recognize, you get 12 economists in a room, you'll get 13 opinions, is an old quip. Well, you get 12, global governance oligarch aspirants together, and they will fall to pieces with each other, plotting, collaborating, fighting, fucking, frolicking, every aspect. Look at
So do you
our
think
mob.
that benefits us, John?
Pardon
Does
me?
that benefits us? Does that what you just stated? Does that benefit
us?
the plebs?
Well,
yeah.
Does it benefit us? I think it
terms of,
depends.
like, they don't all come together.
One of our best ways to help kind of dial down the amount of wild swing in that ecosystem of these predators is to lend our energy to the ones who treat us less abjectly cruelly than the others, or to join the pack, right, and become one of them or mimic them well enough that we strategically box them out of certain areas of resource. But they have sniffed out that after the Enlightenment and World Wars I and II. You look at the state of education in the West now. We're not taught so much anymore how to think, as the founding fathers of America were.
Right.
And, we're taught what to think now. So that vector and the bond between parents and children and the basic bonds of local community, the 100 families in your immediate area. Pardon me, we don't have those bonds anymore. They found ways to advance their own interests economically and sociologically while offering us conveniences and safeties and other things in cities and through large scale industrial economics, so that we've taken the deal like a payday loan. We've traded convenience for liberty in many cases. And not all of this is by design. Again, remember, this is a complex ecosphere. It's an ecosystem. So some of this is emergent behavior. Some of it is just natural because of fundamental, algorithms operating. Other areas will show signs of human tinkering or outright hacking. It's complicated, and even my language isn't doing it any justice, any true justice. It's far more complicated than the simple way, as disjointed as it sounds, I've tried to liken it. There are feedback mechanisms. The whole field of cybernetics is involved in this. We finally have language and enough sophisticated cultural self-awareness to see now that we are animals in many, many ways. We are subject to forces of nature beyond us. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, and look, and this is the thing is, like, I know that you're not, well, I don't know, but I assume that you're not really religious. But, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, given everything that you said, what is your primary concern? Like, for me, because I am religious, I think that, I'm not just religious. I have a very particular worldview, but my point in being is, like, I see that
deception of humans' perception, which I didn't mean that to rhyme, but I see it as basically pure evil. What I mean by that is like, you know, if you don't really know what you're doing and you're kind of just going with a program and you're just kind of going through life, like I see that as like you basically have become an animal and therefore you're not really a human. And I just see that as, more or less, I see that as evil. So I mean,
I think I understand what you're kind of saying. The idea that, look, are you a wolf or are you a sheep? Right. This is the fundamental distinction. Even Cooper talks about this. He says, if you have the endowments of intelligence, yet you don't use them, or you allow them to become dulled and rusty, useless almost, then you basically deserve what comes to you. Right. That's a law of nature, not because nature delights in it, but because eventually a class of predators will sense your vulnerability or the slight shave off of the amount of energy they need to expend in their behavior and will move in on you. So unless you have horns, so to speak, you can be a herbivore, but unless you have horns, you're just going to be feasted upon mercilessly, right? So deception in and of itself isn't necessarily evil, right? Think about a stick bug, right? It's using a form of deception, camouflage.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is vampirism, right? Psychic
basically,
vampirism.
basically,
feeding on the misery of others. Now, I find that meets the threshold for my definition of evil, and it needs to be resisted.
And I want to make a distinction. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, and this is something that I struggle with, and this is a little bit more personal than I normally would want to get. But like for me, like example, like when I go down the street and I see people who are quite obviously criminally minded and they're looking to prey upon other people, if lightning struck them and they happen to succumb to their injuries, I would not only feel not bad about it, I would feel great about it. I'd be so happy. Like, to me, I'd feel great about it. I'd love to see that happen. I mean, I wouldn't like to see the dead body, but I would like the results of them not preying on other people, right?
What you're really saying is you wouldn't mind if that evil was eliminated or didn't exist, if it was gone. You're not delighting in their suffering, but a bad guy got a bad thing happened to a bad guy. No fucks given. No fucks to give.
Yeah,
sure.
Like that movie. That's like the movie Death Wish, bro. Like so many of us like got joy.
Yeah, I love that movie.
And just blow those guys away, even though it's so violent at the time.
Yeah, and the way he did it, where he's not doing it out of revenge. He's doing it because if he doesn't do it, it's not going to get done. That's what I like about that movie. I love that movie.
But could we say that revenge was a with a catalyst for him though?
It's a catalyst, but it's not I don't think it was the primary motive. I think it was he's felt that he has a duty. He tried to go through the proper channels. No one was willing to fulfill the role that needs to be filled. And so he felt he had to do it. And I think that's, again, like, I'm not someone who's promoting this kind of like actual way of life, but what I'm saying is like, and I think this is the weird thing that's also happening, where a lot of men are becoming aware that you have the wolves, which I don't think wolves are bad animals. I hate this analogy, but let's just say
a metaphor. You have the predator, the unrestrained predator, right?
And then you have your German Shepherd, which is the shepherd of the dogs or of the sheep. And again, I think this is really what Christianity is trying to say when Jesus is calling himself a shepherd. He's saying, "Hey, I'm not only here to guide you, I'm also here to protect you from things." Right? I think there's a very multi-level thing going on there, right? But again, this is what I'm trying to say is like, so now you have these people who are ex-military, like that what's that dude's name, Sheepdog Protection, he's like the Tim Kennedy, right?
Tim Kennedy,
and I hate that guy. I respect him, but I hate that guy for one reason. Like, he brags about basically being a hitman for the government. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that there's not a role for that, but at the same time, it's like, look, I don't think we should glorify people who are, basically
It's like
contract
you're going to
killers.
cheat on your spouse, right? Don't shit where you eat and be discreet about it. You're going
Yeah.
to take the trash out in terms of human civilizational wound debridement. Yeah, don't use a chainsaw. Use a scalpel, but use that scalpel.
Right, exactly. And I think, and what I'm trying to say is, he's promoting that lifestyle, that mentality. And to be fair, it is mostly with law enforcement and whatever, but I'm just saying it's like, and look, I do actually respect the position of law, peacemaker, law enforcement, but I also recognize it is very corrupt and it's very hierarchical, and that's a big problem. And again,
Can we maybe use an easier word, Jack? What you're really talking about is a paladin.
something to that effect.
We need
yes,
sheriffs
essentially.
or marshals or paladins. We don't
Right.
need law enforcement. We don't need policy enforcement.
Well,
they're going to be corporatized right away.
See, this
We
is
need
the,
elected sheriffs, not appointed law enforcers.
but see, this is the thing is as well is like, and again, this is going to sound like I'm not, without getting too far off track. I just want to make a point. Like, I also see this as, and it's hard to describe. Let me give an analogy. If you're in Taiwan or if you're in Thailand, you guys have been in Asia, right? And the police are corrupt. We know that, right? But they also have a respect for their culture where they don't want people fucking with their culture. They don't want people coming and ruining their place. So like they're going to go and check foreigners heavier because they don't want foreigners coming in and disrespecting their place, right? And so what I'm not saying that I want foreigners to be done, but what I'm saying is here in America, a lot of the protection helps the criminals and it hurts the people that are actually victims. And that's kind of what I'm also saying is like,
Yeah, but Jack, the purpose of a system that's gone on the way this system has for as long as it's had, the purpose of a system is what it does. The social consequences of that kind of aspect of our society, they aren't faced by those who hold on to a lot of the levers of power now. So for you and I and most regular plebeian citizens, and being a pleb is not a bad thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That system, of course, is broken because we recognize fundamental aspects of not only the formal contract, but the unspoken contract of policing and granting that authority, especially authority over violence, to a protector profession class. That trust has been broken, and it wasn't broken by us, but it serves a class of predators moving in our society. So wages are reduced. You have family disruption. You have double the number of workers to tax. You have folks coming in who don't necessarily respect our laws or are allowed to get away with law breaking. Why? Because they're useful. Who are they useful to? A lot of people. The defense industry, politicians who have an easy source of milking social tension.
Oh, I agree with you. And I just want to mention, like, this is another point that I've been trying to get across to people is like the reason why the crime is exploding is because it gives them the perfect excuse to bring in a very dictatorial, fascist, autocratic state. And this is what I see is
100%.
like, that's exactly the game plan. And I think that
It's
this
transparent at this point. It's
but
open.
People don't want to see it.
That's
even
just
they
it.
see it. Yeah.
The horror is too much for most people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They really don't want to face the fact that, my God, everything I learned about my culture and my place in it was a lie. Okay, I'll start my diet on Tuesday, right? I'll worry about that later. It's always kicked down the can.
Yeah, and here's the thing is I don't blame people anymore. I mean, I do in a sense. Like I find it disgusting and revolting, like in a very Austrian painter way in 1930s in jail. But at the same, I'm just joking. But but
like Avatar right there.
I'm just joking. But like he, if you read his book, the way he talks about, everyone says, oh, he said bad things about Jews. I like the part where he's talking about his fellow Germans and he's like, these people fucking disgust me. They don't even want to save their own neck,
Yeah.
Angry mustache man Adolf Hitler is a useful scapegoat symbol. He was a horrible human being, but he was backed by even worse human beings. But he's been turned into this court jester version of the ultimate bad guy to deflect genuine attention being paid to the not only Jewish, but Western American, Christian, Freemasonic, Zionist, or just plain capitalist, greed driven, frontier capitalist, merchant prince raider pirates of the West.
Oh, I agree.
We don't look at them as much because we have a cartoon villain to look at. He was a real villain, but he's been cartoonized, right?
Yeah.
For God's
no,
sake.
no. Yeah, and I just like to use the example because it's
so extreme.
Yeah, well, it's so extreme, but people always say he said bad things about Jews, but he said worse things about the Germans. He I think he hated the Germans more than he hated the Jews. And I think that's ironic,
Neurojack, that's what I was telling you when I 2013 when I used to go on those blog talk shows and go on those panels with a lot of black nationalists, and the one particular broadcast I would go on to mostly, it was funny because they were very unique in that niche of the radio, in this fact that they were quote unquote black nationalists. However, they had more smoke for other blacks that they felt weren't living up to their potential than they did for any white people or non-black people. And because of that, they got a lot of smoke from other black groups and stuff, and
yeah, I do know. And it's Go ahead, sorry. No, I just want to tell you, you should check out the Chaotic Truth channel because I think that they're a great example of a fake version of what you're talking about, where it's like they're doing this fake, like, shuck and jive. Sorry, but you know what I mean? Like, they're doing this, like, fake, like, we want to hold black people accountable and we need to make America great again. But really, in my opinion, it's just, they're doing the same thing to blacks that they did to the whites with the alt-right. That's my opinion. But,
I know what you're talking about. Yes, the guy with the mega hat. It almost ends up being like an extreme version of the white supremacy that they're trying to speak against. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very strange and sorry, my point in bringing up a whole Me and Mr. Mustache thing was to make you guys laugh, but also like it's also like a very Nietzschean thing. Like I love Nietzsche because for the same reason where people say he was a nihilist or whatever, but like in Machine, again, I give Machine a lot of credit because he's one of the only people that sees in Nietzsche what I saw, which is that Nietzsche was basically trying to save Christianity. He's trying to save Germans. He's trying to save all these people, but he was just like, I'm at my wit's end trying to like wake these people up. It was like, they can't see that they're destroying themselves. And like everything he said is exactly what happened. Like he saw exactly what was going to happen. He's like, you guys are going 90 miles an hour and there's this giant spike in a brick wall and you're going to head right into it with your fucking face first. And it's like, that's what happened. I mean, it's like,
yeah. Well, John, then you're maybe a little older than me. I don't know, but I'm gonna ask you this question because you have some life experience. What's the best way to critique someone if you're trying to help them, critique them with even when you know they're super sensitive? Because what we're talking about, me and Neurojack, kind of reminds me of that type of thing. You're trying to help people.
Yeah, there's no focused answer for that. There's only a blurry generality, and that is to show and not tell.
Yeah, show and prove, right?
Well, not necessarily proof. The proof has to come from within their own mind as they reflect on what you're showing them. And they also have to want to find honest answers, right? They can't want, they have to want it. So, and it's hard to do. It's very hard to do. I haven't been showing you much tonight. I've been spouting off a bunch of stuff, but because both of you are likely plugged in enough and well read enough, you can tell that some of what I'm talking about is, I know he's talking not complete nonsense because I've read that, I've encountered that, I've thought about that, or people I do genuinely trust have said some of the same things. So yeah, if someone's a skeptic or someone you want to open both of their eyes up, right, you can only really show them certain things And timing is important when they're younger and more. That's why we got so many, radical leftists out and about. They haven't had enough of the bumps and scrapes of life. Of course, exceptions apply in every case, to understand that wisdom becomes much more important than intelligence in your life.
Yeah. We see it earlier. We were talking about the red pill space and manosphere. Like the same thing you said about the young liberals going crazy. A lot of these young red pill guys are going like out of their mind too, and like just completely missing the point.
The two wings of the same bird. You can't fly with just one wing flapping. You need to agitate both sides, right?
As I have this huge hurricane typhoon going through my front my street right now in Taiwan. This
That
shit's
sounds
crazy
awesome.
over here.
That sounds awesome. I like to see all that, but like that's one thing about California is like you never have
You don't get that, man.
bad
You're on
weather
medium.
ever.
You're mild.
Yeah, I mean
too
we get
perfect.
wind, but I mean we had a little bit of storms the past couple of years, but it's like it's so mild.
Have you heard the theory that the Austrian painter, if he won the war, allegedly he wanted to move to Redwood City in Northern California because of the weather?
No, I never heard that, but that's hilarious.
It wouldn't surprise me, given that he was a vegan and involved in a couple of things like that, and a meth addict, of course, too. He was tweaking out during the Olympics there, right?
There you go, Redwood City, perfect for that.
But yet, Neuro about California not having bad weather. Great weather. Shame about the human shit and crime.
Oh man, San Francisco, horrible. That shit on the ground. Yeah. Are you in Canada?
Yeah, I'm a
Ron?
Canadian. You probably hear it in my voice.
Yeah, I've seen some of these. Now they have these street tour 4K walks where they go to Vancouver.
Oh
and,
yeah, Hastings,
Toronto,
East
and it's
Hastings
like pretty
Street.
bad, bro. I
It
thought
is.
Kensington was bad, but some of those spots are comparable.
No, the immiseration is happening everywhere. Canada, the voter replacement or the cultural replacement effort is under full swing here in Canada. Lip service is paid to traditional Western values, which aren't linked to your DNA or your hardware. It's a software matter. But there is some overlap to race and culture still, and I use the word race in a very general quotation air mark kind of way. It's a very complicated subject, but involves a lot more biology and natural cultural drift. But yeah, the West, we're undergoing voter replacement, and the drug epidemic is a part of that. That's a kind of way of showing people there's always something worse that could happen to you. So shut the fuck up and get in line. Fentanyl is a big scourge up here in Canada, believe it or not.
Fentanyl.
Yeah, the Chinese are repaying us for the opium wars in a way. It's certainly an element of it. It's not the only element, but it is an element.
Yeah, which is funny because you'll probably never really hear anyone taking fentanyl in China or even here in Taiwan. Yeah.
The Asians don't fuck around with the illicit drug trade. You get caught dealing drugs in some of those countries, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You're gonna die.
Yeah, I think it's just possession here in Taiwan. It's like at least a year, and they call it re-education school.
You think the Thai or Philippine police are going to have to deal with a foreigner dealing drugs, interrupting their team money from their homegrown drug dealers who are part of the system?
Allegedly,
you're going to die. If you get big, you're going to die.
Well, that's why Thailand was so strange to me. Like when they legalized weed last year, but now we were talking earlier, they're going backwards on it. Now they're gonna stop the recreational stuff and only say you can only have a medical card.
Yeah, well, that's just a way to kind of put a veneer of control back on things. That's an element. In Thailand, you think you're not going to be able to spend 1,000 baht or 5,000 baht, $150, $200 a month salary to a doctor to get an approved card, and then he's going to kick that out to some of the boys in brown. Yeah. Cops in Thailand are paid a shit salary because they don't need a salary. They have a badge and a gun. They can take what they want if they're smart about it.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah.
It's mafia
Neurojack,
all the way down.
yeah. Neurojack, did you know a lot of expatriates that have businesses there? You living there? Oh, he's on mute.
There's one surefire way to travel to Asia and become a billionaire, and that's to
What's
go
that?
there as a multimillionaire.
Yeah. Got to have money to make money. Definitely.
No, I mean you'll become merely a millionaire if you go there as a multimillionaire.
Yes.
You're
Yes, the
pretty much
exchange
going to be buggered.
Yeah, right. But here's the thing too, like if you have no money and you go to some of these countries, unless you start businesses, there's not really much upward mobility for the main job out here, like English teaching or something.
Yeah, I did that for a few years in South Korea, so I've had the expat journey as well.
Yeah, it's an experience, right? That's the most
Oh,
important
yeah.
thing about it, right?
I was lucky enough to teach some of the same students for a handful of years. It was fun seeing some of them grow up.
Yeah, and that's something that doesn't happen a lot nowadays, where you get to see them grow up. Yeah. Oh man. Quite honestly, I have to go with my little one downstairs, my 6-year-old. Are
Go
you? Do
be
you
a
go?
dad.
Yeah.
I'll chat with you
I would
and Miro
love
another
for you
night.
to chat with you again, bro. I appreciate you having up here.
I'll
It's
see you
been,
guys out and about. Have a
honor.
good night.
Take care, okay?
Bye.
Okay, peace. Yeah, that was fun. I can't even do my outro right here. Anyway, this has been NPC the Game, Book of Gabriel. Much respect to John and Jack, Neurojack, for coming on and lacing us with some game. That was pretty epic. I'll see you next time. Peace.